John was working in his science lab, got blasted by gamma rays. Now he's Smash Trivia John, always smashing. He's friends with Ruffalo, in love with Aslan, and also some arrow weaving. John's here saying, hello my gamma friends, welcome to the show, the Gamma Analysis Podcast.
And hold. Smash.
Hello, my Gamma friends. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia. I'll be the one with the big old green in the profile picture. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do random other geeky films. Hope you enjoy. Smash Trivia presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening, please do sign for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk be angry. Now let's smash right into this episode. Today's episode is a review of Gen V with my friends Brayden and Kira. How are the two of you doing?
I'm okay.
Pretty good.
All right. So to talk about this show. That sadly got canceled too soon.
Disclaimer that I haven't finished it yet, but I've seen, I've kind of spoiled myself on all the stuff relevant to, our specific conversation, you know what I mean? And but I haven't got to finish it yet.
I watched pretty much both seasons. Season 1 I remember more than season 2. Mm-hmm. And Gen V is a show I loved a lot. And though I liked the Boys show, though I had issues with season 3 and season 4, a little bit of season 5, Gen V I felt was the best part of this universe so far.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't seen The Boys. I've only seen Gen V and I obviously watched that for a very specific reason. But I do like it. There are parts that I don't like as much that feel very much because it's part of the Boys franchise, but I just accept that as I know what I signed up for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like pubic hair powers and such. I'm like, well, I know where I am.
Yeah, well, John, you've watched the Boys TV show first, even watching the final season of the Boys before you watched Gen V season 1 and 2. I know you were surprised by some stuff, but what was your main takeaway from the show?
Mm-hmm.
I think in relation to the Boys, is my main takeaway is I was surprised that there's two characters that I expected to take an extreme villainous turn because of their appearance on the Boys is at Thought Tower, and then they didn't. And though that surprised me, I actually liked that twist.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool that they didn't take them that direction. I really liked the show. I really like all the characters. I think I have two things I don't love about it.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is I'm not sure how I feel about the way they incorporated the actor who died in with the second season.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I also know there's a lot of before he died, there was a lot of controversy around that actor.
Yeah, I can explain that a bit, Kira. So Chance Perdermo, I think I'm saying his last name right. So Chance Perdermo, he was in his 20s, and he was kind of blowing up.
Regardless, that's a tragic young death.
He was blowing up because of Gen V, and in his teenage years, he had
he also in Sabrina?
Yes, he was. And in his teenage years, he had a how do you describe it? If I put it away, he had kind of an incel phase where he kind of looked down on women a certain way, and certain other sexualities, and some other stuff. And then it seemed like he grew the fuck up. He wised up, and he changed. And people, obviously, the Gen V fan base were kind of irritated he was here because they were kind of like.
Wasn't there also stuff that he was into Trump modernly or something like that? He
used to be. He was almost a Trump supporter in a way, and then he kind of changed his mind. And so that still kind of ruined his image for obvious reasons
Yeah.
online. And there were some Genevieve fans like, man, this guy's a great actor. I wish he was such a fucking dickhead in the past, but maybe he grew up, maybe he changed. And of course, he tries to pass away in a motorcycle accident. And there are some people like, God damn, like he would, like regardless of like his past, some people
Yeah,
are
that's
like
a
he had a lot of
tragic.
talent. Yeah,
That's a young death regardless. And I think what's sad about a young death, even with potentially a past like that, is now you're never going to get to see how much that person could have grown
actually,
past their
Yeah.
mistakes.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
think that's very sad
and
in
also
that
like
way.
even his co-stars, especially
Hello?
some of them who are clearly, women of color and, they're playing, hey, even they were like, no, he was a sweetheart on set. He never mistreated us. He was professional. He was
It's
so
yeah.
nice. And,
You don't want to see
and,
anyone die that
so of
young.
course, yeah. So of
Oh,
course
yeah.
with so with season two, right off the bat, when after the time jump, they
That
open up
makes it
the
awkward.
premiere and,
Yeah.
so of
Like,
course one of the
how do
characters in it, they're
how do you plan
like,
around a
they,
tragedy like that?
Yeah.
they did the only thing they could do without recasting, which was the character's father became a major lead in season two, and he's grieving the death of his son.
Mhm.
And
That's
one of the main characters in the show, Kate, she's she's kind of a complicated character, but she loved him. And when she's getting them out of prison, she's like, "Hey, where's Andre?" And it's like, as if you don't fucking know. It's like, "No, what?" And it's like, "You fucking idiot! They killed him. The guards killed him. He was trying to escape." And she was like,
I,
"What?" That's how they open. This is the
I think
first.
I think that is interesting and like in a corporation of like
Yeah.
not wanting to recast, and also like I think there's an interesting level of like incorporating that into the real world consequences of
The
the
universe,
things that are happening. Like unfortunately it makes sense that one of them would have tried to escape and been killed.
Yeah.
It sucks,
They had to
that
do it. It's just
that they
Yeah.
had to work through that.
Yeah,
But I think that is one of the routes that you could go that makes sense, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was one of those
think
things where like, yeah, I think you and you and John, we talked about this once. Of like, maybe they could have recast it if they waited long enough emotionally, like years.
I
Like,
could see.
but
I see.
But they don't have
My
time for that.
my issue with it is just like the fact that they kept bringing him up throughout the season. It got to the point where it to me kind of felt exploitative.
I know what you mean. It's one of those things where like I think it'll work the best when the dad was talking about his feelings with one of his friends. But that's where I felt organic to the
I
story.
think it's hard to say that though when we're not the people who were real life, like
Yeah.
in real life friendships and co-working situations with someone who suddenly died. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of times when that happened, people work through their personal grief in the art.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm not
That
sure
makes
I would
sense.
I feel like seeing exploitative is a very cynical way to look at it.
I understand that.
No, well, I think it depends on the context of like,
Yeah.
for example, when Christopher Reed passed away, he was in Smallville playing the character of Dr. Swan. They had big plans for him, and unfortunately, he passed away. And then when he did die, Margot Kidder, his co-star Lois Lane from the Superman movie, showed up for a little bit. She loved working with the cast and crew of Smallville. She had a bit of a falling out with the writers, and she left. And they were like, they were like, oh, why are you leaving? And she's kind of like, it hurts talking about Chris, and I don't like some of the stuff you guys are doing. I'm glad you can pay tribute to him, but I'm gonna go. And she did kind of say, I was kind of so grieving in the moment because
Yeah, that could just be hard emotionally, even if no one's really doing anything wrong. Sometimes you just have to grieve differently than other people are.
She did have issues with the showrunners Goff and Miller, but they made up years later because she was kind of like Christopher Reeve, his character of Kurt Swan, he was going to be kind of like it's going to be like a sinister villain for a bit, but then have a change of heart. That's what he wanted to play. And then they were going to keep that idea with Margot Kidder's character in Smallville. And then they were going to say that because she was so grieving, and because they were going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to say that Christopher Reeve's character was a bad person. She was like, what? I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
And
it's a thing where like people's grief sometimes collides. Sometimes people are grieving in different ways, and I think that's pretty normal.
When it comes to handling Andre in season two, I like the fact they didn't like
They weren't like who?
Yeah, they weren't. Yeah, that would have been
Never
weird.
heard of them.
Oh yeah.
That would have been weird if they just magically forgot him, which is funny because
Never
they
heard
actually
of
have.
him. Moving on.
Yeah,
Because that's something that sometimes that
Oh
shows
yeah.
do.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I get what you mean,
Absolutely.
John. I get what you mean, John. It's one of those things where like because there were some critics when liking Gen V season two who were kind of like I wish the characters just left and went to the boys because there is a elephant in the room that's in the show forever,
Hmm.
you know. And then, but yeah, but I felt they handled that the best they could.
In
Now
a
another
character-driven show, especially, having an
yeah.
actor suddenly die is the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember this, and also I've seen TV shows handle that in different ways. Where I remember there was this actor, he passed away from the West Nile virus, and he was a recurring
Damn.
guest in the Blacklist TV show. His character, they wrote in that he wrote that his character died from the same virus in the show Blacklist, and James Spader gave this beautiful monologue for him. There's a moment towards the episode that pays tribute to him. You can tell James is an actor. He speaks
That
from the
makes
heart. Yeah,
sense
yeah,
because that's raising awareness for something that
Mhm.
an actual
you don't want someone else to die from.
Oh,
yeah. So no, and and also like there are times where like sometimes a TV show has to put it into the narrative,
Mhm.
but it can be too have you guys ever watched the show Eight Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter?
I have not.
No.
No.
No, it's a great sitcom that
This
had
sounds
Katie's.
insane.
No, it's a great sitcom. No, it's based
You're
off
like,
a
no, it's okay.
no, it's based off this book that it turned to a family sitcom. It had Katie Siegel as the mom and John Ritter as the dad, and Kaylee Cuoco who ended up playing Penny in Charmed, and she was Penny in Big Bang Theory. She was also in Charmed. She was in
I understood what you meant, but I thought
yeah
that was so funny because I was like,
yeah
she did not fucking play Penny in Charmed.
no no no. I
That
know
is
what
a
you mean.
different character.
No, I know, but I see
That would be
Isn't
a
Penny their-
wild crossover.
Isn't
No,
Penny
I
their
see.
mom?
Huh?
Penny's the name of Penny.
Yeah.
Isn't that the name of their mom? So I'm
No,
like,
so
no.
but anyway, I see her as Penny I see Kaylee as Penny and Billy no matter what happens because of Big Bang Theory and
I
Charmed.
mean, Penny and Billy sound pretty similar as names. I get it.
Right. So this is her first ever show. This is before Charmed.
That makes
right?
sense.
So it was on ABC Family, and it was based off this book, and the entire it's one of the things where this dad is super protective of his kids, his
It's
two
shotgun on the
daughters,
porch thing, yeah.
yeah, his two daughters and his little son. So the show lasted for like 3.5 seasons.
Mhm.
After the season 2, he died from a heart attack on set. So in the season 3 premiere, we see the characters react to his death, where like they show, and it's a great, it's them grieving, and then to help save the show, kind of, two new characters, Katie Siegel's parents in the show come in to help with the grief, and David Spade plays her cousin, who plays a new character in the show. It was the emotional tribute episodes to John was great, especially when you can tell they weren't acting. Like they were in character.
No.
In the costumes. Glo said, I was just constantly crying throughout the entire season because I was so grieving him. I loved him. He was like a father to me. And then we were still going. And then ABC was like, okay, we're 4 episodes into season 3. Gotta be funny now. And they were like, we're trying to be funny. We can't. Even though it's a sitcom, we can't be funny right now. We're so grieving. And eventually the show got canceled because there were some people who were like, it's beautiful for what they did. They can't be funny because their father is dead. And that affected that for obvious reasons the show had to end. But I remember it was one of the few times they handled a person's death beautifully. And then even Katie Siegel said, I'll be honest, I kind of asked them to cancel the show because I was like, it's not the same. We're trying to save the show, but we can't. He's here. We can feel him here.
Yeah.
And
it kind of reminds me of The Descendants with
Cameron Boyce.
And how it's implied that he died in the same way in universe as he did in IRL. They kind of imply he died of some sort of like stroke or aneurysm or something in universe. Like they imply it was something sudden and not like he didn't die in a fight or something. Because like they're basically, it's a thing where like that is so raw for them that even that even when they are doing it respectfully, they're not like, we're not gonna make it some fantasy thing just because like that's just the way that people like go through the different ways people go through grief. Like with Ruby, Monty Oum died after season 2, the creator, and that was like a family member for everyone. And the show it channels so much of their grief and their processing of grief into its writing in the most beautiful way, where like to where even one of the characters dies pretty much the same way that Monty died. And then another character becomes obsessed with bringing them back, and that obsession and not being able to move on is what sets off all of the events in Ruby.
Yeah,
Like it's what causes the apocalypse.
And for context, John, because I know you haven't seen Ruby. In real life, Monty Oum's brother Neith takes over the role of the character played by his own brother.
Yeah.
And there are many times where even online he had to tell some fans and some critics, keep my brother's name out your mouth when you're saying that I'm exploiting my brother's death, playing his role. Like, don't you dare accuse me of that. And it's like there is a way to.
I think that's why I'm kind of like I'm so quick to be like, I don't know if we should be saying that.
Well, I mean, that's to me. Like,
I don't know if that's an okay thing for anyone to say, honestly.
Well, no, to me, it depends
not
on
the
the
actual
level.
people involved.
No, but it depends on the level of extremity. Like, for example, one of the things that drove me fucking crazy on Twitter, across different demographics, was all the people who didn't know Chadwick Boseman turning to Ryan Coogler and being like, "You fucking snake for killing off the child, you selfish prick! How dare you mourn Chadwick Boseman? How dare you kill off the child?"
It's one of those things where people will be mad no matter what you do, basically.
Yeah, and I was like,
and because and in a way where you can't even be mad at people for being mad no matter what you do, because what they're really mad about isn't the thing you're doing; it's the death. You're all mad about it. Yeah. And you're just and your grief collides and you take it out on each other. Like even parasocial grief, it's real. We grieve another human being. Like, we're a social species. We care. Like even like with Chance, like I didn't know the guy, and like I am skeptical of his past, but in the end, someone in their 20s dying like that before they get the chance to grow, to truly show how much they've changed, to truly show remorse, to truly affect the world in maybe a positive way. If that it reminds me of Anton. When he died in that horrible way so young. It's like when someone dies so young, it's just like the tragedy is not just of death, it's of such lost potential for the future, I think.
Yeah, and then that was also another thing. John, I showed you the first,
and I think a lot of people feel that about Chadwick because he was still pretty young.
Yeah, he was going to lead the MCU basically. Like Kevin Feige confirmed, he's like he was going to lead.
People, it may be parasocial in some ways, but there's a level of healthy parasocialism where you are just like, wow, this person is another human being who is inspiring me, who is inspiring and uplifting me and inspiring me to do better. And losing that does hurt. I think it's not the same as knowing them, but it's not irrelevant. It's not invalid. Do you know what I mean? And so I also understand how people, again, their grief collides, and people also can be triggered by their own personal people they've lost by a celebrity thing. Like the Chadwick thing kind of hit me because it reminded me of a lot of people I've lost. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like, and even the Chance thing, like dying by a motorcycle accident, my grandpa was forever like traumatized in a way that kind of like trickled down through the family by a horrific motorcycle accident he witnessed. That is the reason I wasn't allowed to get a motorcycle when I wanted one. Like, because he saw someone basically decapitated while he was riding along with his friend, and that like traumatized him for life. Like that's a really awful way to die. Like it really is. Like obviously every way to die is not great, but we all know that we'd rather die like peacefully in our sleep at 90 than in a fucking motorcycle crash. That sucks.
There's a difference between natural and tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can still be a tragedy when it's natural because you've lost someone, but there is something brutal about something really awful happening so young. It sucks. I think that we can grieve that regardless of we don't know the person, but it's like that sucks. And it's gonna make that show hard for everyone, even if they weren't best friends. That's someone that they knew. That's someone that was in their life.
But what's funny, John? Getting back to Genevieve, there's one thing I kind of get where like there's one thing that kind of threw me off was we saw the characters grieving him in different ways, which I actually did kind of like,
Mhm.
especially when it did feel like I'm sure it was therapeutic for some of the actors.
I
I think the
think what annoys me is when a death gets skipped over really fast.
yeah, yeah,
And
Mhm.
does and like in a way where I'm still not going to judge if that's because it's too painful for the
yes,
people
yeah,
to do. I understand that, but it does feel a little. I do have a preference for a tasteful level of like allowing people to vent their feelings. You know
Mhm.
what I
mm,
mean? Like there's, and I think in the way that I imagine it's just is I think it's the same just true in Gen V with people talking about their grief, and channeling it through their characters. Maybe we'll show you a clip after this, John, or two. There's these really great moments in Ruby where you can tell the script is talking about a character that's dead, and the character's talking about their grief, but the character's dead. But the voice actor
yeah.
is talking about Monty and maybe anyone else they've lost, and you can just
Makes
really
sense.
feel it in a way that like. It's also it's such a healthy processing of grief because like it's all of them collectively coming together and supporting each other and through this process, coming to the conclusion that they need to let themselves feel their grief but not let it close themselves off.
Mhm.
Like they have all like, and it's in a way it's because of the legacy of Monty. Like he talked a lot. It's almost kind of eerie how often he talked about the idea of dying young, even though it was a
Mhm.
freak accident. It's kind like aspirin. It's kind of weird how often but like I kind of relate to it too. He was
Mhm.
very interested in the idea. He would talk about how like if my impact on people, both through my art and through my personal relationships, if that lives outside of me, then I'm not really dead. Like that was his
Mhm.
philosophy, and that's why it's so specifically important to them to keep his
Mhm.
show that was his idea going, because that is literally like was his philosophy that immortality is your impact on the world outliving you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so,
Yeah.
and that's something that gets really interestingly explored in the show, to where they handle like character death in a way that I think is better than most shows of
Mhm.
its caliber, of its tone. Like, because even stuff that is shocking doesn't feel like shock value, and some people might argue about this on certain things, you know what I mean? Because there are some like deaths that aren't as well written as others, but like a lot of the main ones and a lot of the ways the characters process things is so poignant because it's coming from a real place and it's not just to do a gotcha on the audience. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
mm,
Like, and I think
Yeah.
that is something that I'm interested in Gen B is like how much are they letting the people who knew this person grieve through their characters
Yeah. Well,
versus making
yeah.
Well,
versus
actually, John,
as sorry, Braden, but just one real quick
mm,
versus letting people vent
mm,
versus people who don't like that and would rather they grieve in a different way. And so I think the
Mhm.
worry is that if you have like a big production, is everyone gonna get the same good things from that?
Mhm.
And the thing about like Ruby is like it's a little bit of a smaller, like it was a bit of a smaller group that experienced that, you know what I mean? So they are able to like to check on each other in a way where like they all know that they're okay with this in a certain way, and like the people who weren't okay with it that couldn't handle it after he died did leave, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
um just in ways where like people's grief collided then too, but like whereas I imagine on something like Gen V, I would worry a little bit about do actors feel okay saying I don't want to do this?
Yeah.
That's what I would worry
well,
about.
that's no, I get,
Yeah.
I get what you mean. For the most part, I think this is one of the reasons why some people were really kind of irritated that Gen V got canceled. Is that with Gen
Hmm.
V, it was about collaboration.
Yeah.
While with the Boys TV show, Garrett Kripke was very much like, no, you must listen to me. I'm not gonna listen to your fucking ideas.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So with Gen V, I felt like they might have given more breathing room. But one thing I want to ask you,
I
John.
heard a lot of people
Mhm.
that watch both like Gen V a bit more because it doesn't feel like it
Mhm.
gets, even people who like the boys sometimes feel like there's not enough checks and balances at certain times, and you can kind of get that sense of the hand of the guy who thinks he's the
Mhm.
most important author. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
Like
that's
with the hand of the auteur in television is a struggle because an auteur works better on film than television
Mhm.
just by
yeah.
nature of collaboration. I think that's why Emerald City was low key doomed, even though that was like everyone intentionally wanted to be under one auteur for that. It just wasn't sustainable.
Mm. Well, I get what you mean. Oh, but the one thing I wanted to ask you, John, in regards to like, I do think there's a moment in season 2 where they move past Andre's death because they're focused with the plot. of the bad guys and some other stuff going
Mm-hmm.
on. I do think maybe because it's 8 episodes a season, I do think maybe they could have brought in the plot line a little bit sooner. You know what I mean? Because it seems the pacing in
Maybe
season
mix.
two is
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
is different.
Okay.
I want to be clear though.
I haven't finished season 2, but I remember thinking in the beginning, I was like, this feels a little bit like because I was watching the beginning of season 2 because I have seen season 1, but I need to rewatch season 1 because it was a while back. I kind of binged it. I don't remember as much of season 1 actually as I do as the beginning of season 2, which I watched the most of. And I've watched a bunch of compilations of Marie and Jordan over and over again the most. but and the blonde lady with the hair, Kate, she's
Kate.
cool too.
Mm-hmm.
She's complicated, but I like the actress a lot. I think
She's
Kate's
great,
actress kills it. She's awesome.
Yeah.
All the actors are awesome, but Kate's
Oh
actress,
yeah.
I thought I would not be interested in the character at all, but then I'm like, no, she's compelling as an actor.
Oh yeah.
And I think and I imagine it does come from her grief, and she does a good job of being like what you're talking about. I've seen that where she's like, what the fuck? Where she's like, she didn't even process the possibility that she would get there and Andre wouldn't be there. Like that didn't occur to her.
That
And I
that
think that was really interesting because I
that
think that's kind of realistic in your head. Because I'll be so real. One of the problems I've had in my life with grief, with losing people, especially losing them when they were young, is feeling of how much I took for granted that we would have time that we didn't have. That's one
yeah
of the hardest things. You take for granted, oh, they'll be there when I get around to it. You don't know that.
yeah.
Like you have to learn that lesson the hard way, that there's no guarantee for tomorrow. And so I think, especially at their age, it makes sense to me that she was just like, in a way, taking for granted that everyone she was looking for would be there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I want to be clear though with like I was saying, I don't think it's like definitively the exploitative.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
mean, I meant I meant like I get a little bit of an ick, but like I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I think that makes that makes
like,
sense.
I'm like I don't know. Like there's
I think
some things
everyone
like
feels that. I think it's
something
impossible to not feel that.
like particularly like where I'm like I get a bit of an ick is if I remember right, there were like some scenes in like season 2 where like the villain uses is the death against them in different ways. And I'm like, that's where I'm like, yeah, that's a little weird. Weird them really bringing it into the storyline like that.
I think that's where you have to toe the line between like you're letting you like you're and I think this is also something that I think Ruby does really well, and maybe other people will disagree with me, and I think that also is how we different people process grief and the subject of it. I think it's just so sensitive that even if technically there's nothing done wrong, I think people are going to inherently have different feelings about it. Does that make sense? Like how it makes you feel is going to be different. And so I think that, but the balance between acknowledging a real world death, via meta text, and also carrying on a consistent internal plot with like the way characters would act, like, and keeping that real and like being consistent with how characters would interact with each other in the event that this happens in the plot. You also have to like contend with the fact that you've now made this plot. You've now made this a plot point in your fictional show, and that still needs to carry out. And I think that is, and I think that that is where the most potential for people to feel ick factor, depending on where they are, will come in, because how they, what I mean? Because some people I think have a little bit of that ick factor, or towards Ruby, just because they haven't processed, like, because Ruby is so pro moving forward, which was ironically Monty Ohm's whole his
thesis in life.
his thesis was keep moving forward, and that's also the thesis of the show, and it was the thesis of the show before he even died. Like, ironically, the show was always going to be about grief and dealing with death and trauma by this positive mindset. It was always going to be about that, and then it became even more real when he died, and they had to really commit to following, in a way of they had to really commit to listening to him after his death. Does that make sense? They had to really commit to actually understanding what he had always been trying to tell them, I think. And translating that even more into the show. But I imagine other people, they're like, I don't want, like, and I have this, I have this like instinct in me, and I think this is why I like stuff like like Ruby so much is because it helps me deal with this instinct of like my dark impulse is to like I don't want to deal with it. I want to pretend it never happened. I want to pretend that person never even existed. Which is because I watched like Starship, like Wing Commander or whatever. Wait, is that the movie that I'm thinking about, Brayden? Wing
Which one?
Commander? The
Wing
one
Commander,
where
yeah.
the dead never lives, or like the dead, you just forget that they exist. It's like a cultural thing. I like my parents showed me that really young, and for some reason I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna do that. And so like having that like that avoidant personality urge to just like to just lock that stuff away and not process it is really toxic. And so I think shows that confront stuff head on and are like, no, you have to feel it so that you can move through it to a better place afterwards, have been the things that have like forced me to, have been really influential on me. And so I think Gen V kind of like I did like how it kind of feels like they're letting the characters feel it, but I do think the pacing was a little bit off because I think Ruby does a better job of balancing these characters are struggling with their grief and still having to do the mission at the same time, which is honestly probably one of the hardest things to balance. Especially if you're going by traditional screenwriting stuff, which is like that's the thing. Amazon and like Gen V is much more trapped in the conventions of the industry and that structure and that format, and so they can't break it they can't break it as easily. Does that make sense? Like the
Well,
expectations are like I think one of the things is like Ruby has different plot expectations because it's so unique that it doesn't need like it's able to do stuff that other stuff that's very much in Hollywood and stuck inside of its conventions and format and there are expectations for stuff like that. That also makes pacing feel weird because we have an idea of what pacing should feel like for this type of thing. You know what I mean? If
yeah.
you're watching something where you have to let go of your ideas of pacing very quickly for what you're watching, it doesn't feel like that. Like Ruby has very different pacing in than anything else. So I think that's also why it kind of circumvents that problem. That I think a lot of stuff like that was one of the issues that a lot of people still feel with Star Trek Beyond, despite the fact everyone really does like it. It it feels like they kind of just are like, oh yeah, that guy's dead now, anyways.
No,
Because they don't have time. The pacing is weird in the opposite way, where they don't have time to let the characters feel it.
for context, Sean, because I know you haven't seen Star Trek Beyond. Star Trek Beyond is like the third. The Chris Pine trilogy.
Yeah,
It's the third one.
the new ones.
So the third Star Trek movie with Chris Pine and that cast, Leonard Nimoy died like a month before filming, like right into it, and they were like, we need to address his passing because it's Leonard Nimoy. So of course, let's talk about the fact that Spock is gone, which is a beautiful love letter. Then, unfortunately, sometime before the film came out in 2016, Anton Yelkin, who played Chekhov, he died in a tragic accident. And so the movie's dedicated to the both of them. It's dedicated to Leonard Nimoy and to Anton Yelkin. And there are some people who like the film. They love Star Trek Beyond. And they're kind of like, man, it's kind of weird because like this movie is kind of marked by the deaths of two men.
Yeah, they do it.
Prominent.
It's still really good, but Leonard Nimoy gets more like Leonard Nimoy slash Spock Prime's death gets more attention and relevance to the plot, whereas Anton's character is kind of just like not there all of a sudden.
Because he
You know
was
what I
busy
mean?
with other films before his death. And then,
And he was doing Troll Hunters and stuff, so he was already like not going to be as present in the movie. But then they don't even like he's completely like absent,
and,
and then they don't mention him
and
in a
then
way. It feels like when and so it's just like it's kind of like it's awkward timing
yes,
happens as well.
and then another thing, John. The reason why Star Trek Four, I mean, now I got officially canceled by Ellison's at Paramount, but the reason why I was in development hell for so long, Star Trek Four with
This was
Chris
part of
Pine
it.
and that cast, they were like, we have to decide: are we killing off Chekhov? Are we just
Yeah,
removing him and
no,
never
like
mentioning him ever again?
are we
Or are we
committing to
casting?
him being dead? Are we recasting him, or are we just saying that he left?
And they
Like,
couldn't make
because
up their
they did.
minds for years, and they just said, "Well, I guess it's not happening now." And it's, yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
think that,
sure that the family even told them, we don't mind whatever you do. And that made it worse because they were like, but we don't give us a direction to go in, please.
yeah, and then I think even one idea they had was just to say, "Oh, Chekhov got promoted off screen," and even that
But
wouldn't.
that would feel weird still, I guess.
It's also the same issue that the Fast and Furious franchise went into
Yeah.
because Brian. Now you guys haven't seen Fast Nine or Fast 10, have you?
No,
I feel
I'm
like I've
not.
seen Fast Nine, but
Okay, have you guys seen
not a
Fast?
lot.
Have you seen Fast and Furious 8?
Yeah,
I think I did.
I've seen
Yes.
up to 8. 8. That's
I've
8's the
definitely
last
seen
one I've
8, I
seen.
think.
Okay,
Hold
so
on, let me
obviously,
double check. They all blur together, low key.
but Furious 7 is the last one with Paul
Mhm.
Walker. That's
Yeah.
the last one with
Then
Paul
I've
Walker.
definitely is 8 where they drive off into like the
That's
sunset
7.
with like see you again.
That's
No, that's 7. So
7.
then I
That's the
think
last
I've
one.
seen 8.
Okay, so 7. So obviously they were like, we're not going to kill off Paul Walker. We're not going to kill off
Mhm.
Brian. And they did a great job. There were some people at the time, I remember this in 2015, who did feel it was a bit exploitative to Paul Walker. But they were also kind of like, but they have to assure the audience he's not dead. And they
Is
have to
this
assure
the
that.
one where he was like pretend going rogue?
Oh, Fast 8, that's when he's where Vin Diesel's going rogue. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I
So,
remember
okay.
this. Yeah,
So in Fast and
and
Furious 8,
Statham and The Rock were really gay, so that's why they
right,
got
right,
their
right.
spin off.
That's right. No, so this is what they're doing with Brian now.
Mhm.
The character of Brian, the Paul Walker is dead. The character of Brian isn't.
Mhm.
No, he's not.
So
And that was a
if
decision made by his friends and family. So
yes,
like,
that's
Oh
you're right.
yeah.
But this is what leads to the awkward elephant in the room that they're going to address with the new Fast and Furious movie, Final Fast Forever, whatever they're calling it. So in Fast and Furious 8, Vin Diesel, Dominic Toretto, gets a son and he names him Brian after his best friend, Brian O'Connor. Cool.
Mhm.
In Fast and Furious 9, Brian's wife, Mia, is there helping out with the plot. And she says, oh no, Brian can't
That
be here. He's at home
I
babysitting.
remember. I feel like I have seen Fast 9 because I remember seeing that and being like, that's so funny.
No, but
Like just the concept of Brian being like, I'm the stay-at-home dad now. I'm done with it.
no,
Like
but
that is a
then
funny that is a fun concept to me. Him being like, you
Mhm.
can go have adventures, wifey. I'll watch
To be
the kids.
honest,
No.
I see that
I kind
making
of no,
sense for Brian.
he low-key was giving like I want you to get me pregnant from the minute he met Mia. He
no, but
kind of
that
was giving
what
I want to put on an apron for you the second they met in the first movie.
oh no,
He was
and
down
that's
bad.
no, but the arc in 7 is by him giving up action and him choosing retirement, which
Yeah,
they did.
it works.
So in Fast 9, there was a moment
It's
that
another
made
eerie moment where it
but
feels like Fast 7 without they didn't know he would die, but it feels like it worked in a weird way where he
well,
like
I can kind of explain that. So Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody,
why
before
did
Paul
I forget he was in here? Everyone's in these
before
movies.
before Paul Walker's death, he was supposed to be Brian's father, and the reveal was
That
going to be
wait, that casting works.
no, he was
I
supposed
could
to.
see that.
He was going to reveal to Brian, I left you on purpose with your mother so you can have a normal life. And then I checked in on you as a spy, and I saw you doing this crazy, stupid shit as an FBI agent
Mhm.
and with this family. Now that you're here in this mess, I have to save you from this whole thing. And I'm going to help you and your family, and I want you to stop. And then he eventually Paul Walker, Brian was supposed to learn my deadbeat father is right. I should stay home with my kid. That's what really matters. That was supposed to be the plan for 7.
Learning a lesson from your deadbeat dad who regrets being a deadbeat dad, doesn't want you to repeat it, is a trope I think is interesting.
But then when Paul Walker died and he couldn't film those scenes with him, that's when they just got rid of the idea that Mr. Nobody was his biological father. And they got rid of this whole scene. And they were like, we need Brian in these reshoots with Paul Walker's brother through CGI face thing to learn this lesson.
Which they did a pretty good job on for the time, I'll be honest.
Oh yeah.
Oh
They
yeah.
did a
I
great job,
remember
yeah.
being pretty impressed. And it was again with the consent of the family because they knew how important that character was to, Paul. And like, I'll be honest, didn't like Paul Walker I don't like Paul Walker as a person. And
Yeah.
I won't get
into
into
controversy. There was some issues with him.
That's one of the people where I'm like, low-key, I'm glad you're dead.
No,
like,
he dated young girls. Yeah,
unfortunately, that's one of the people where I'm like, I was sad at the time, but then I found out, oh, you're a pedophile. Okay, well,
yeah. So he was very much an old school man.
Which is like that. That's not in comparison. Like those two, like the different deaths of like the potential controversies. Like not like there's one where I'm like, oh, you had the potential to change, and I'm sad that you didn't get to see more of that. And there's another one where I'm like, oh no, I'm glad you're gone. Actually,
yeah. No, so right. So with Brian in Fast 9, he shows up.
I did love the character though.
No,
so I'm kind of glad the character's not dead.
But in Fast 9, the character shows up, and there's a.
I feel like I don't remember this.
No. There's a moment. It's a sad moment. It's at the end of Fast 9. There's like, oh, here, John Cena, we saved the day. We did all this stuff. Let's go hang out at the barbecue, whatever. And then Vin Diesel turns and he sees Brian's car pulls up, and it's his car, and that's how Fast 9 closes. and it's like, hey, Brian, and that's how Fast 9 closes. He's still alive. So of course,
Not
so
only
then
is he still alive, he's pulling up to the cookout. He's like,
yeah, yeah.
"Hey, I heard you." It's
Then
actually so funny to imagine him being like, now that all that
but
stressful stuff's over, can I have some barbecue?
but then in Fast and Furious 10, Fast X, everyone's in danger, and then Mia's like, I gotta go get Brian. So she goes off screen somewhere. Now in this new movie, the 11th movie, the final Fast and Furious movie that they're gonna start filming in a few months, Cody Walker, Paul Walker's brother, is playing the role. So
See, it
they,
makes sense that he would be more comfortable with it now than ever, like
Yeah.
especially with the context that like I could see that with the time now with the time and the character still being like, but he's been off screen, and now with the amount of time, I could see him being comfortable. And we kind of do have the technology now more than ever to make it more feasible.
or
If
they
you
might
wanted,
even CGI it because he
they
kind of
might be like he might be like, yeah, I got my face bashed in at a bar fight so bad I needed reconstructive surgery, like the good old soap operas. I think that more shows need to just be like, oh yeah, I got reconstructive surgery and just move on.
But that's what
And not in terms of actor deaths, just like normal recastings. I think they need to embrace that soap opera bullshit more. I think it's so funny.
right. So
But
that's
Fast and Furious is a giant soap opera, basically.
yeah, no,
So
right.
I could
But
see them being like, yeah, he
Yeah.
just looks different. Moving on.
well, that's
Oh, yeah.
where they're at with Brian right now. Where like okay, they're bringing him back, the guy who can play him, the only man who could play him, his family
Really,
member.
yeah, just like with Neith.
Yeah, is coming in to do it for the last film, and this will be the final goodbye.
Mhm.
But there were some other people, especially some other fans, who were like, "Man, that final image of them driving off at the end of Fast 7, that should have been the last scene." Like of this
I
fan,
do think that worked well.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
that should be the last time we ever saw Brian. But hey,
Mhm.
if you're gonna bring him back, at least you're recasting him in a
With
way
his
that feels
brother.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after all this time, the brother, it doesn't feel as fresh. And I like from experience, I imagine it could feel now more than ever like a healthy tribute to the person he lost. And like again, I don't know what the family feel like, like it's one of those things where like I might be like, oh, that person sucks. But at the same time, I also know that like that's still someone's brother, that's still someone's son. And
Yeah.
even if they didn't like I know people who like have hated their family and still been for totally valid reasons and still been grieving when they died because grief is complicated. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
so I imagine now more than ever it can feel like a tribute to that character, and I imagine like the good parts of that person's legacy.
No, but that's the
It's
thing.
like
So when it
because
comes to
that is like the main good part of legacy he had. Like that character did have positive impacts on people because I know people who were like I'm not kidding. I know people like who were like, oh, I was gonna just become a drug dealer until I watched the Fast Furious movies, and now I want to be a mechanic. Or and it sounds silly, but they did.
Mhm.
You know
no,
what
there are
I
people,
mean?
no, there are
Yeah.
people inspired by different things, and also the sad thing about Paul Walker, what makes it even more frustrating, other than the fact that he dated like young girls, right?
Yeah.
Is the
A
fact that there
weirdo.
was no, there was actually all his friends and family said he was incredibly nice and charitable. He gave money to charity. He died going to a charity event. That's also made his death even more tragic in a way. It's
Mhm.
Yeah.
like
But you also wonder how much
Oh.
of that is like guilt motivated by like
yes,
because people are
Mhm.
complicated. People can
yeah,
know I did a bad thing and
Oh, yeah.
like because you know what I mean. So like, but then again, now there is a level of tragedy, and we'll never know. Not
yeah,
only will someone never be brought to justice for certain things, we'll never know the full extent of why, what, where, when,
Mhm.
how.
yeah.
Which
So
is like one of the tragedy. Like that's why people were like obviously like not to direct. I guess maybe comparing these two isn't the end of the world, but like and you can maybe cut this. But that's why people were upset when Epstein died, not because they wanted him alive necessarily, but because they needed information. Like and
yeah,
it
he
was
needed
very
to
much
suffer
like oh
alive. Yeah,
like no
Yeah.
he was a valuable asset to unravel other bad things and save more people, and whoever
Mhm.
killed him because it probably wasn't himself
Well.
didn't want that information getting out. So it's
yeah,
like it's one of those
Mhm.
things where it's like imagine how what we could know if certain people were
Yeah.
still alive regardless of how
yeah,
we feel about them. So I
Mhm.
think there's also that
No.
yeah. It's one of those things where like
I'm,
death
you're
is a loss of potential in multiple ways. Death is a loss of
Mhm.
information, death is a loss of context, death is a loss of potential,
Yeah.
death is a loss of relationship. And I think that it's hard for us to grapple with that as people, just on a
Mhm.
human level. We struggle so much. That's why all the media is about it, with the idea of like someone's just gone from our lives, regardless of where
Mhm.
they went afterwards. They're not here anymore, and you're like, what? Like it's such a
Yeah.
weird thing. It
Oh,
really is
yeah.
strange.
what were you say, John?
Oh, I was, for one, unless you particularly want me to cut that, I'm very fine with leaving that in. And
No, you're fine.
I think it's
I never
think we
regret
should be
anything I said.
I think we should talk about Epstein as much as possible.
Yeah. And like
Given
I
everything's
think,
happening in life,
and
yeah.
I also think, I think it's relevant to be like, there are complicated ways to be like, I'm sad a human life is over, but also there are certain people where it's like, even if I would prefer even if I would prefer other options, if someone's life being over prevents more harm, then that's also good. But when someone's life being over actually prevents you from stopping more harm because they had
Yeah.
information, that's when it's like, fuck. God damn it.
More information and like also stopping him from really facing a lot of consequences.
There are some people where it's like, that's too easy.
No, it's also one of the reasons. No, it's also one of the reasons why like there are some people who are anti-death penalty because they're like, death is not good enough for certain bad things.
No, like for everyone, it is a thing where that's for everyone who doesn't deserve it, they don't deserve it, and for everyone that might deserve it, we can do worse. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, but
like it's actually the least efficient option.
Let's move on though from discussions about death. We've got into it, but I think it was for probably like an hour.
This review. I feel like it was inevitable. To be fair,
that's when it comes to Andre. When it comes to Chance Padermo's death, and then of course the character of Andre, it's kind of unavoidable. Like it's there in the aftermath.
And I think we also like had an interesting discussion going over like the different how in general when you have a death in your cast or even in your crew,
you have to handle it a certain way.
Because film and television is collaborative. Film even more is even more collaborative, but when it's inherently a group project, when someone dies, that's even worse than if they just drop the ball. You know what I mean? Like it's a way where like there's suddenly that gap there. So like I think that's one of the risks of a collaborative art form. That just like it's a risk of life. You never know what's going to happen, and you just have to hope that something won't come along and blow up what you're doing in such a way. You know what I mean? In such a tragic way, or like someone won't. Because there have been other times where it's not someone dying, but it's someone like, becoming too disabled to keep doing something, becoming addicted to something, and they can't keep doing something, going through their own tragedy,
or even we're like
becoming too mentally unwell.
Right, or like something happens where like they're like, I'm quitting the show. Can you just kill off my character because I can't come back. I just don't want to come back.
I have shit to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So like there's a moment where something outside the element of the show, like something behind the scenes affects. And that's just
kind of life. You know what I mean? In a way, it's life as much as it's death. But Gen V, I do think that the pacing could have been a bit better, but I also can't be too mad because it's like that is a lot to grapple with.
No, because with season 2 of
what
Gen
I'm mad
V,
about is that they didn't get more seasons because they would have like I think they would have moved past that and kind of like moved past that awkwardness. And I don't mean like move past this, but like move past the initial panic and awkwardness of being on crunch, of like you need to figure out how, because they probably already had that.
They rewrote the entire season,
that alone is stressful. You have a limited amount of time to rewrite something under the worst circumstances possible emotionally.
Yeah,
like because even if the writers didn't directly know him, they're like, this sucks.
The only thing that seems to be true, and I know based off like some interviews, they confirmed. Stuff they had plans for the character of Andre went to his father, and that makes like that
was probably the easiest way to do that. Honestly.
Yeah. No, like the mystery, because with Gen V, one of the things I love about both seasons, there's a mystery. They have to investigate to find the bad guy, find out the plan, whatever.
There's a conspiracy afoot.
So in the first season, Andre is kind of like Fred Jones in a way, like a black Fred Jones with magnetic powers. So when he dies, that role goes to his dad, who used to be a superhero. So he actually kind of is a bit better at being a detective in a way. Like when he's doing,
in a way, it also makes that creates an interesting potential for a bridge over to the boys' universe more so. But I know people felt like the pacing wasn't quite right as far as those two getting integrated. But there's more potential in the future for that.
I've talked about this with John a little bit, and even like some other friends of mine. We talked about Gen V and. Okay, this is a weird thing. Eric Kripke, I have issues with him.
Can I just say earlier, me calling Eric Kripke an auteur was the funniest thing I've ever said.
No. This is the
I
biggest
was
problem there.
waiting for someone to fucking call me out on that, but
No,
none
no,
of you
this-
said shit.
No. This is okay. This is the biggest problem with Eric Kripke. I have a lot of respect for him. He can be a bit of an idiot, a bit of an asshole. There's some things I resent him for. Is he a talented writer? Yes. Is he as good as he thinks he is? No. Because like even in the
Yeah,
interviews,
he's too
he's too arrogant.
big for his britches.
He has a similar problem with Joss Whedon. He's too fucking arrogant. Because they're made
Yeah,
like for example, John, you weren't there for this. I don't think you remember this. You and I could talk about this because you've seen season two. You remember the villain of season two, the twist that he was body jumping, he was possessing another man.
Yeah.
Right. So in Gen V season two, when it was airing, Eric Kripke accidentally admitted. Somebody asked him, you guys would everyone knows this. TV writers, they read the internet. Since the internet began, you read fandom discussions and you read stuff here and there. And sometimes if
it
there's a
started
fan,
going downhill when people got obsessed with either subverting it or fully leaning into it instead of just taking it as one
right?
idea of many.
So no, no. So at one point he didn't change anything. He said for the obviously with the exception of Chance's death, he for the most part he didn't change season 2.
Mhm.
During the interviews for Gen V season 2, like when the episodes
Mhm.
were coming out, and the twist was revealed, like, oh my God, so and so is a body jumper. Most people on YouTube and in the fandom and in whatever for like 4 weeks, 4 episodes, they were like, I already know the plot twist. This motherfucker's possessing this person. They already figured it out, right? And they were saying, this is my fan theory. This is my prediction. There's a lot of good foreshadowing here and there. If the show is smart, this guy has to be the thing, right?
Mhm.
Eric Kripke admitted in the interview he was irritated people figured it out so quick. He was
And it's
deeply
like, get
irritated.
over it.
No, and
That
basically,
means you're a good writer, you
and
fucking
then
fuckwit.
no, and then
Like,
because
this
he
is the shit that pisses me off.
no, and then because he said that, right? People on comic book Twitter were like, "Yeah, we figured it out. You want to know why? Because you read fucking comic books, and
No, yeah.
you're also about follow through, right? If there's a fucking mental villain with mental powers, it has to be him. It has to be this. He's acting weird, and then there were and then even some people on Twitter were like, "Do you think you're smart, Eric?"
And this is because he's no, it's because this is the thing. He is one of the patient zero of getting obsessed with shock value over actual like substance. He is patient zero with being more interested with surprising people than satisfying them. Which I must okay. Another thing I shouldn't say, but I will. I don't know how his wife feels about that.
No, with
That's all I'll say.
No,
I do not know this situation, but okay.
You are
Eric,
right.
no. With Eric Kripke, his thing with Eric Kripke. Okay, because I know a lot about his writing career because I've just been fascinated with him because he's worked on so many different things and
yeah,
he's a nerd. No, he's a nerd. He is a nerd, but he's the type of nerd he wants to prove that he's the ultimate thing. So, like for example,
the ego of it all.
No, right. Because of he's of a certain
and
generation.
I get it because I feel this dark urge in me as well, where I'm like, no, I want to be the best. I want to be the best nerd. And I'm like, wait, no, that's stupid.
No, I know. Right?
What am I talking about?
Like for example, with Supernatural. Now, John, you haven't seen Supernatural. I think you've seen some episodes, but you haven't.
Yeah, I've seen some episodes. I haven't really actually followed the story.
No.
And you perhaps should not.
No. So the first 5 seasons of Supernatural, that's Eric Kripke's baby. The season 5 finale was the best series finale he ever wrote, and then the CW kept the show going without him. But that's when he seasons 1 through 5 was his vision for the show. In the series,
didn't he keep running it for a little bit after that before he left? He just was mad. He was mad that they kept going, but he did keep work and even I think when he stopped being a showrunner, he was still a writer for a while.
He stayed
consulting. He was a little bit intentionally involved even after he stopped being a showrunner.
He only wrote 2 episodes after the season 5 finale. He wrote the season 6 finale that saved the show.
That was also another pretty decent finale. Wasn't that the one where all the fucking
Cassiel goes evil?
Yeah.
You must bow to me, whatever. Because basically, they were like, Eric, we're having trouble finishing season 6
He's
because
really
season
good
6.
at hype, at hype moments and aura. Let's be honest, like that's
No,
his strong suit.
so he did like 2 more like episodes as a favor, but for the most part, he was done because he was kind of like, no, this is I wrote the ending, I wrote the series finale of this fucking show, but you guys want to keep going, okay? And then it's like, fine. So he only wrote like 1 more episode, like 1 or 2, but he wrote the season 6 finale as a favor. He rewrote the season to do the better finale for season 6 to help them launch season 7. He's like, I got a great cliffhanger for you. Bang, Cassio's evil. Deal with it. Start season 7.
No, yeah,
And
because
then
he's good at like having like, but the thing is like that was he was good at being like this will be like a really like intense moment, but then like he would have coming up with the follow through. It was something he when he had like he's someone who like when he has an endpoint he's going towards, it'll be the good stuff. Does that make
okay,
sense?
so
Like
no,
all
right,
the
right.
build up towards the end of season 5, it all felt so cohesive because he did a really good job of building up to the world building lore explosion of season 5.
Okay,
You know
so
what I
John.
mean?
Okay, right. So John, I'm gonna spoil some stuff for you for Supernatural because
I don't care.
okay, okay. So
It's
obviously,
been a million years.
no, it's okay. So this
Yeah.
is season 5, season 4 to 5 to me is the best season of Supernatural, and that's the real ending of the
Yeah,
show.
that shit's pretty good.
Season 6 through season 15 is just pure fan fiction with some cool episodes here and there. But let's
Season
focus on
6 to like 9 is not is not as good as the beginning, but not
it's
terrible. It's when it starts hitting the double digits that you're like, the dead horse is paced. Can we please go?
so okay. So John. So in season so when Kripke. Okay, so I should probably explain some of his career. Kripke went to college, went to writing school, whatever. Came out of college, and he wrote a challenge for himself. He was like, "Let me write this pilot script with no plan for anything else." And he wrote the pilot for a Warner Bros. TV show called Tarzan. That I've been showing some episodes of to Kira. He wrote the Tarzan TV show.
It's
Of,
so funny.
it's a modern day reimagining of Tarzan. A modern
It's if
day
like it's like if Tarzan was Spider-Man.
with also Oliver, also a little bit of like Oliver Queen. It's like, oh my God, John Clean has returned to New York City.
Wait,
He's alive
I'm
and well.
I'm just realizing that must have been I feel like that was a partial inspiration for the Tarzan Netflix animation that I've been showing you,
Yeah,
where what's his name? Hated by Spider-Man fans guy.
Avi Arad.
Avi Arad. He was like, what if Tarzan was like Spider-Man? Which
Yeah,
is
but
funny because that's what Eric Kripke said.
Mhm.
But I'll be so real, Avi Arad outdid Eric Kripke because
yeah.
he was like, but what if it was like, what if he had like sick like jungle animal powers? Like,
Yeah.
and it's fucking awesome actually.
No. So in the WB Tarzan show, which came out 2003,
It's pretty fun. We might show some to you.
no, it's in New York. It shows him, as a grown ass man coming back. He was kidnapped by his evil uncle Clayton, whatever. And Jane Poor's a New York City detective. It's a great pilot,
Yeah,
and they
it's
made
a fun
it.
concept, especially for the era it was made in.
So they made it. They made the pilot. They aired it. People liked it. And there's like, Eric Kripke, we gotta do more episodes. And he's like, I don't have a plan. It's like I wrote the
Yeah.
pilot, and it's like we gotta come with something. So they were kind of like, so that's what. So throughout the show becomes like a case of the week, like similar to Lucifer, or like even like
Yeah.
some other stuff where Detective Jane Porter has to solve a crime, and there's a monkey man trying to help her, and that's Tarzan, and that's
Yeah.
what the show became, and then eventually the show
He becomes the wacky consultant
yeah.
to
And
a
the show-
detective, and it's
No.
like it's in the vein of I think the thing it's most similar to in that way is Forever, which also
Yeah.
only got like 1 season, and that show was really good.
No. So then
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes of Forever. I
I
want
love
to watch
that.
some more of that at some point.
So then, when Tarzan got canceled, because there were some people who were like, "This show has good ideas, but they don't have a direction." And it was one of those shows like maybe if they had time, they could have fixed it, but they didn't. Right. So after that lesson, he was like, "Okay, my next show, which became Supernatural, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna plan it out as best I could. I'm gonna make a rough outline." So in his series pitch for Supernatural, he's such a fan, he's such a nerd, and he basically said Supernatural will be my tribute to the X-Files and Star Wars. Because the character so Jared and Jess, they play Sam and Dean.
Yeah.
In season 5 of the show, it's the apocalypse is on the way. That Lucifer and the Archangel Michael will fight and the rapture will begin. This is great. There's some great foreshadowing in writing, and it's eventually revealed that Sam Winchester, Jared Padalecki's character, you know him, He is the vessel for Lucifer, and his brother Dean, played by Jensen, is the vessel for Michael. Two brothers meant to kill each other. Heaven and hell, they must. Yeah, yeah. There's all this great prophecy, all this great build up. If you can see the prototype version of what will become the groundwork for Homelander and Butcher and the boys. Two men. It comes down to two men fighting. The fate of the world depends on these two men and their love and hatred for one another, and all this other stuff. And Supernatural had great characters, great writing, great this, and the season 5 it builds up to a great finale in season 5, and it landed well. Cut to him to the boys.
I'm realizing that the guy who made Forever also made Lethal Weapon and Chuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
this tracks. Sorry, I was just looking to the up. I was listening though.
No, right. Now, with the boys' scripts, like I've read some of the scripts. Eric Kripke is a nerd. He's like, oh, let's reference this scene from this movie. Let's reference this and that and whatever. And Eric Kripke's whole thing is like, when Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who did the Green Hornet movie, for years they were trying to make the boys into a movie, but they wanted it to be a one and done film. And several studios went, no, this is too bloody and too disturbing to be a movie, especially a superhero movie. Fuck you. We're not doing this. Especially from the guys who did fucking Green Hornet. Get the fuck out of here. So that's what they were like to them, right?
Which is wild for studios to be like, oh yeah, audiences won't like that when audience is loved Blade, a film that starts with a nightclub filled with blood.
Remember to some
but
people.
That was cunty gore. It's not the same.
But his thing, John. To some people, especially in Hollywood and in comic book discussions, what do people always say? That's not a superhero movie. That's not even a comic book movie. That's just a vampire movie. Even though it's based, remember, there are some Blade fans who hate the Marvel universe. They hate comic books. They're like, I don't even read Blade comic books, but I love that Blade movie, and I am glad that Marvel Studios will never make a Blade thing ever again. Because there are some people, they legitimately believe that Blade is meant to be a 90s thing, tied to Wesley Snipes forever. And like
some people just think that people just think that constantly trying to redo stuff has become old. You know what I mean? And the problem isn't when it isn't that we reboot stuff. It's that the fact that the industry has decided that that's all we're allowed to do anymore.
Yeah. But even then, I get irritated whenever some like for example, I remember a friend of mine, well, actually two friends of mine, they were just talking mad shit about DC, Marvel, and comic book stuff. And there was like, oh, Blade 1998 is better than all comic book media, period. You want to know why? Because it's a real movie and not a comic book movie. Bam. And that's like, that's why this character will never come back, because he can't exist now in anything like it ever again. Because this is a real movie. Even some actors from the Blade film are like, this is a real film. Fuck Black Panther. This is a real black film. And there's different levels to it. Because there's some people who are kind of like, Blade is Blade. He's better than Marvel, which is I can see where they're coming from. But
it'll be funny in the next few decades when people's like nostalgia kicks in for the early like Ruby movies, and the early like MCU movies. You know what I mean?
It's already been kicking in, but the problem is they're using it to shit on current MCU. Like there's some people like, the MCU.
But I'm saying that's a human pattern. That's the same. It's the same thing as like generations shitting on each other. It's kind of a fallacy.
Yeah. Like but like it's one
a
of those
mental
things.
temporal fallacy that there's a difference. There's the new is always better fallacy and the old is always better fallacy. Those are both fallacies.
Yeah. But like when the reason why they got Eric Kripke is because Eric Kripke's whole thesis and everything he does is the power of the human spirit is better than people with powers. Because even in Supernatural, Dean refuses to have powers. He refuses to use magic. He refuses to use certain things. And he brought that element over to the boys with Butcher.
It heightened it, yeah.
Yeah. But then eventually he realized that Butcher's a hypocrite, similar to Dean in Supernatural. So Butcher does get powers to help level the playing field. And he does all this other stuff. But now the boys comic book is objectively a terrible comic book because it's Garth Ennis ranting and hating superhero stuff. Because Garth Ennis is a credible comic book writer who wrote for Punisher. And Garth Ennis is like, there's only 3 good superheroes: Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. The rest is bullshit.
Notice how they're all men.
No, right. And he's
I'll be so real. Like that guy's a misogynist. Just
Oh, no, he
like
is.
I
No, he's a massive.
like,
He's a massive
and so is
misogynist.
Eric Kripke, even if he
No,
doesn't
no,
realize it, or
no,
at
no, no.
least like, because like I do love the first 5 seasons of Supernatural in a lot of ways,
There's
but
not much
also
women.
it is insanely misogynistic at the
Yeah,
same
yeah, but
time.
remember the logic Eric Kripke had was like, oh, it's 2000s, baby. We gotta be sexist as hell,
No,
objectify
yeah,
women, fuck
pretty
them.
much.
And then it's like, Dean, one night
Burn
stands,
them all at the
threesomes.
stake.
Yeah, yeah, right. And it's like all these women have to betray you, Sam and Dean. Fuck them. Right. That's
No,
basically
yeah, like the like the treatment of like minority characters that aren't like white dude main characters in Supernatural, not great.
yeah, yeah. No, no,
For
it's
sure.
very
I mean,
2000s.
to be honest, in all the episodes I've seen of Supernatural, I don't remember any minority characters.
There's some
Well,
black women
yeah,
that Dean dates only to have sex with them, and then they never show up again.
Like, I feel
they
like there
truly
might
could
have
not
been
be
like,
less irrelevant.
I feel like there might have been like one of the gods what might have been played by a black actor, but like that's about all I
There were some gods of color,
remember.
but that was it. Yeah, but so with the boys TV show.
And if you were gay, look out.
No, no, right, right, right. No. So Eric Kripke, he's a nerd with a lot of bitter pettiness. But
Mhm.
so when this became a TV show, because Seth Rogen was kind of like, okay, let's do this as a TV show, and they were like, what can we do to make this more? Now here's the thing: in the boys comic book, the entire purpose of that universe is there are no good superheroes, or if they are, they die. Like even even at one point, Butcher, he finds a bunch of teenage superheroes who are like 14, like little boys and little girls. They're hopeful, they want to help save the day. Butcher just takes out a gun, he starts shooting them. And he was like, what the fuck, man? And he's like, I don't care. They're part of the propaganda. They were going to turn against me. They all are trying against me. All superheroes are evil, Huey, and we kill them all, even as a baby. And that's he's the
Like
butcher
fully
is
into genocide mode. Just like, let's
no, no, no.
go.
Butcher is more evil in the book than he is in the show because when they got Carl Urban, they were like, "Man, Carl is so great.
He's so
we gotta,
sexy. We
yeah,
gotta.
we gotta make Butcher a little bit likable." But anyway, but in the book is the boys' book is incredibly racist and sexist because Garth Ennis is like comic books are racist and sexist. Let's have Mother's Milk, the
It's
only
not
black.
just. It's not just me wanting to also do that.
No, no,
Don't
no.
worry.
So Mother's Milk, the black guy of the group, he's called an N word 500 times in the show, even by his own friends like Butcher. It's like, come on, N word with the hard R. It says, you are my N word. You work for me, N word. Come on, N word. Gotta kill superheroes, N word. And
In
that's
the
like
show,
in the
No,
comic
no, in the
book. In the
comic,
comic book.
not in the show.
you said in
Yeah,
the show,
yeah,
Sorry, in the book. Sorry, in the
and
comic
I
book.
was like, no fucking way.
yeah. I'm like,
You're putting that on
yeah,
Amazon
I
Prime,
don't remember
bro.
hearing that on the show.
I was
No,
like,
no, no.
no way, Carl Urban's saying that on Amazon. What?
No, so in the boys' comic book, he says that all the time. Like
That makes sense.
Marvin is the black clown that's made fun of by everyone, and the character of Kimiko, she has a name in the show.
So essentially, a minstrel figure in the
No, no, no,
comics.
right. In the because Garth
I'll be
Ennis.
so real. Mother's Milk is a minstrel ass name
No, that was the
for
whole
a
point.
black man.
Because
That is very
no, because that was the whole
evocative of some shit.
no, that was the whole point. Because Garth Ennis, a white man, was basically
Yeah.
saying all black superheroes in
And
comic
by
books are tokens, and they're
and
meant to
I
be
will
made
make
fun
that
of.
clear by being racist. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what?
No,
And then
no,
every
and then
black person reading the book is like, I don't know if you're helping.
no,
I don't know if this helps.
then the character Kimiko in the show, she has a name. She's called Kimiko. In the boys' comic book, not only is she just there as an Asian woman, she's like in the show, she doesn't talk. And whenever Butcher doesn't call her the female, they just call her the bitch. Have the bitch do her job. Have the bitch do this. Because basically, Garth Ennis is like, you see comic books, they don't like women. They only have one discount woman to be the slave. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing.
It's a
And the-
thing where like it's a thing where like he is ironically self-aware of it, but he's too much a part of the problem to properly satire it, and he just does it more.
Yeah, he just does it.
It feels to me a lot like stuff like
It's
like
a failure
like-
of satire when you're just
Yeah.
doing a
it,
thing.
it feels to me a lot like stuff like Borat in Team America, where they're like we're
Yeah.
talking about this thing by just doing the same shit.
And I'll be so real, there are ways to do that metatextually
funny
that
and have a
can
point.
work.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like if it's being made by the actual marginalized people. But the difference of viewpoint and context and intent and pop, it's like you're a white man, a white cishet man who was part of the reason comics are like this, by the way.
Yeah.
You were there.
No, so
Buddy, you're one of the people, like, and then trying to criticize it just by doubling down on it. That means that is like that point that you're just using. Oh, it's criticism, it's satire. That's not true. That's an excuse. That's not actually why you did it. You just wanted to do it. Don't lie.
There was a moment where Garth Ennis was called out, and he actually did apologize for one thing, only for one thing, this one particular thing.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you. Yeah,
someone was like, "Hey, what the fuck is wrong with you?"
No, yeah. So I don't think I told you this, John, but if for those who know the character of Starlight, she's very big in the show. She's a big part of the book, kind of. She's meant to be Huey's love interest, and in the comic, she's raped by 3 men who are on the 7. In the show, she's forced to give a blowjob to the Deep, who looks like James Franco, because this is around the same time.
Which is rape, but like there is a level of how much you're just fetishizing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like in the comics, I know that it's more like it's more drawn out of like more of a fantasy than just a plot point.
Yeah. So in the TV show, it's meant to be a parallel to Me Too. They talk, and also Seth Rogen,
and just really in general, the way people are like, and Seth Rogen cut off James Franco after he found out about all that shit, and that's him venting how pissed he is.
I know, and also Seth Rogen said this kind of confirmed. He literally said, "I wanted James to play the Deep." Then James was doing this shit in real life, and I couldn't use him, and I couldn't. And then so it would have actually been even worse if James Franco was playing it. If they filmed that. It's one of those
things where I imagine, like, especially like at a younger age, as you know, white dude, like it's the thing, like you'll be around these people and they'll be like saying the joke, and you'll be like, haha, it's a joke, right? And then it's like you find out, no, it wasn't a joke to that other guy. He was doing the thing.
Yeah, so
he was doing the thing and telling you it was a joke, so you wouldn't realize. So he was also lying to you, Seth. He was going behind your back and telling you that he was telling you, "Ha, it's all jokes," and then it wasn't a joke.
Yeah. So then the character of Starlight, she's a late teens, early 20s superhero, and she's a parody of female superheroes, but she's a specific parody of the character Stargirl. Now you and I both know her, John, right?
Yeah.
And
I know. Excuse me.
No, but sorry, you haven't seen the show.
Our own slip of the tongue of like, we know Stargirl. Kara doesn't know Stargirl. Never read comics in her life. No, but I'm fucking with you because I don't know Stargirl as well as you guys do, but I do know Stargirl, and I did clock that's who Starlight was. She feels very Starlight, and then also other characters, kind of like when Superwoman becomes like a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I know Maeve is more Wonder Woman, like Wonder Woman coded, and then a little bit of Black Widow I think is in there too.
No. So another thing. Stargirl, Courtney Whitmore, she was a loving tribute to Jeff Johns' sister. Now Jeff Johns in real life, his sister died in a plane crash. Yeah. So he invented her. This is my character Stargirl. She looks exactly like my sister.
People process through art.
Yeah, she looks exactly like my sister. She acts like her. She's named after her. She's my loving
We're back
tribute.
To grief. Sorry, John.
No, right, no. But then
it's relevant.
So he created Stargirl. So Garth Ennis saw Stargirl, and without context, he was like, "Aha, Starlight!" And I'm gonna have her get raped and be treated like shit and do all this stuff. And that
speaks to his lack of like interest in what the deeper meaning of any of the of his lack of interest and respect for any of his fellow writers at all. So for that they might have any sort of intent or deeper meaning assigned to any of these plot lines or characters. He saw everyone as equally shallow as him.
Yeah.
And thought that would be funny. And it's like, no, you're the shallow one.
Yeah. So then at one point at a convention, Jeff Johns and Garth Ennis, they were talking about stuff. And Jeff had to ask him. He said, "Hey man, I'm gonna ask."
Hey, so what the fuck?
No, so he said, "I had to ask you, man. Is it based off my girl? Is it based off of Stargirl?" And he went, "Yeah, but I hope there's no hard feelings." And Jeff is kind of like, "Well, do you know who she's based?"
If you thought it was just a random character that you just made, you wouldn't be as worried.
Yeah. So
you'd be like, "Oh, what's the hard feelings?" And it's like, no, that's an important thing.
Yeah. So he asked him, "Do you know who she's based off of?" And it's like, "No, I haven't." And Jeff
again, he's not actually paying attention.
Yeah. So then some actual comic book friends who like Garth pulled him aside and I was like, dude, that's his sister. And I was like, what? His dead sister. What the fuck? Like, you didn't know this? And he's like, no. And then so
It's
he
like,
actually
how
apologized to Jeff.
out of touch are you that you
Yeah.
can't even pick up? Because like, and it's the thing where like fans were able to pick up on that without even needing to be told, just from like the reading the thing. Because like this, it shows that when someone is trying to parody something, but they only care about the surface level of things, they will become shallow. There are will be shallow and surface level because they're like they're not investigating anything deeper than surface level. But he like, and that's what kind of annoys me. Like those comics, he clearly thinks he's being deep,
Yeah.
pun intended. He's fucking not.
No, that's the thing.
It is the most surface level shit ever.
No, that's the
Like
thing. That's what,
the show, for all its flaws, is infinitely more complex and has depth to it that the comics fucking don't.
no. Everyone agrees. Everyone agrees across the board. The boys' comic book is terrible. The show is better. Now, when it comes to Gen V is based off an X-Men parody called the G-Men. But in this, they were named to the Guardians of Godolphin, because Godolphin is a college.
Yes.
To parody the X-Men school. And so with the boys' show,
and to kind of like increase the world building of like how a society would react and become like kind of like police stated, even in the colleges, they'd be like, what if we had a military force of superheroes?
Yeah. So with the boys' TV show with Kripke and Seth Rogen, they were like, cool, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a parody of celebrity culture, movie star culture, and we can make fun of the MCU, DC, and corporations, but keep it to this thing. Try hit everyone at once, right? In the name of fairness.
And I must say, I understand how hard that is, because with Necromancer Prowess, trying to touch on so many different things at once, it does give me a headache sometimes.
Yeah. But then but of course, the biggest problem that the boys ran into,
it makes me wonder: do I have too many cooks in the stew?
So
you know what I mean?
Right.
Do I need to whittle it down?
So right. And then there's one thing that the boys' universe was trying not to do. Like they were trying to be like, let's make fun of the MCU, and some of the jokes are great. But then they became the MCU. They became the Vought Cinematic Universe, the VCU.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of becomes. It's like, at what point is the parody just real? Like, at what point have we failed at parody because we're doing the thing again?
Yeah. So with Gen V, so many people, even people who like the show, like I have one friend of mine who's also named John, actually, but with an N, well, Jon, no H, and he was.
I was gonna be like, as opposed to
no.
M in Jom.
No. So my friend John, who liked Gen V season 1, he was like, "This is a good season. Why isn't this just the boys season 4? Like, why didn't you just make this another season of the boys?" And then
I think that becomes especially a question when we have stuff like Bridgerton that will devote a whole season to a flashback season. Could have, or they'll have technically a spin-off show that is actually a season.
Yeah. So
so I think that ironically Bridgerton, of all things, has been doing a better job at having its sort of like quote unquote cinematic universe feel incorporated into itself. Yeah. So that with Queen Charlotte and stuff, so that people and in that way, I think then you turn to stuff like Gen V and you're like, why couldn't this have been more tied in? Well,
here's the thing. This is the funny thing, Kira, that Eric Kripke, he was like, okay, we're gonna avoid the MCU allegations. Here's what we're gonna do.
You should instead try to be Bridgerton.
All this important world building and deep connections that we do in Gen V, not only will we bring it to the boys, we're gonna make it to where you don't have to watch Gen V at all. We're gonna downplay the connections, recap
but the problem
all this
with
stuff.
That is then you're like, then why did you make it?
Yeah. No. So like especially when like, okay, for example, in the boys team,
and I'll be honest, especially from the unfortunately like cynical but realistic monetary standpoint of the people funding you, they're like, what? Wait a minute. What do you mean you're gonna make it to where no one has to stream the other thing we paid money for you to make? Yeah, like that's a problem.
So a big critique with franchises that's been
growing. You can't say that out loud. No.
Yeah, so big critique with franchises that you and I have seen this cross-board different fandoms: Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, the MCU, Power Rangers, whatever. They're like, man, there's so much homework. There's so much stuff I had to catch up on to understand the plot of what's happening. And Eric Kripke was like, don't worry about it. All the important shit in Gen V, one line of dialogue in the boys. Don't watch Gen V. And one,
See, I think that's the wrong approach to go towards
yeah.
it.
It-
I think
so
Librarians is doing a better approach where it's like you don't have to watch that other stuff first, but you will want to go watch it after you've watched this.
so
Yeah.
right,
But
right.
you don't
So
have to necessarily watch them in that order and so you don't like, and they do a good job of that. Do you know what I mean? Same thing with
yeah,
like it's you should be saying you can watch this now and not watch other stuff first, but you'll want to watch it afterwards.
no,
Yeah.
right. So
Like you shouldn't be saying you won't even want to watch that other thing I paid money to be hosted on like fucking a data center. What?
right, no, and then that's why.
Those servers cost money, sir.
No, no, right. So like, so obviously, in the boys in Gen V season 1, they build up to like, oh my god, there's this virus that can kill people with superpowers, and only people with superpowers. That comes to play in the boys TV show. But if you watch the boys TV show, Kira, and not Gen V,
To
you're
be clear,
like,
I've seen a lot
Yeah.
of boys and about it. I just haven't like
No,
sat
but,
down
like,
and watched
but
it
the
through.
way-
But I do
but the-
know a lot about the plot.
no, but the way the boys TV show introduces elements of Gen V, they're like, it's here now.
Yeah,
don't
I
even
didn't
worry about it.
like,
And
until
then
I
it's like, oh, so I'm not supposed to. But the thing is, they could do that in a way where it's like you are still following this plot, but now you are curious, and after you're done with this, you'll have something else to go. Like it's all about a kind of a perspective shift and the requirement of whether or not you have to watch something before something else for sure. You know what I mean? Being able to bounce around and just know that you'll have more content that you like. That is the way. Like
yeah,
you should be framing it as opportunity instead of homework. It should be
exactly.
it should be exciting, not a burden.
Mhm.
And
Then-
it should definitely not be dismissed entirely because that's also that actually feels so mean to
Yeah.
Chance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, because with the boys show,
Like with the context that that's the only thing he's not going to be in the boys show.
yeah.
That
Mhm.
feels like I doubt he meant that, but it's like it's another thing where like that is such a foot and mouth moment where it's like I get what he was trying to say, but you cannot. That's such a fucked up thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to watch that. You
Yeah,
won't even want to. It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
What?
you don't have to watch this thing, this other thing that a whole bunch of people put their blood, sweat, and tears into making.
Yeah,
They care about making. I remember,
it's just it's
like,
kind of a slap in the. It's also
I
a
don't
slap in the
know,
face to everyone who watched it.
I don't
Yeah, is that
remember.
John?
I don't remember how many months ago it was, but I remember there was this interview with Kevin Feige where he kind of felt like he was dismissing the Disney Plus shows. I was like, really, dude?
But that was my favorite part.
Yeah. Why are you trying to?
It's Netflix all over again.
No, well, this is the biggest problem is that like similar to me, I feel like what Eric Kripke did was more worse than what Kevin Feige did. Because what Kevin Feige did, he was very much just like, well, you fuckers keep complaining about homework, right? And you didn't want to watch the Marvels because of a fucking Miss Marvel show, a show I put my hard work into. Fine,
It's
then
really
we're moving
good
on.
too.
So no, he said, fine, fuck all you then. We're just gonna lessen the
Marvel's
connections.
so good.
No,
Yeah,
right.
he was
But
like lessening the connections. He was also like, I'm pretty sure he particularly said it was a mistake to do the
I
Disney
feel like
Plus
he
shows.
just
he had
even if
faith. He had
liked
faith.
the art. I guess it didn't work out monetarily.
No. He loved Miss Marvel. Kamala Khan is his favorite character. He said this. Kamala Khan is my
We
favorite
can tell.
character. And he said, and he's going to make her a big thing in Avengers Secret Wars to make up for it. But he basically said, so MCU fans only care about movies. Fine, fuck it. So he basically was kind of like, no more, I want to lessen the shows. Says, all you guys don't want to watch Disney Plus. Fine.
If
So
I'm
that was
honest, I also feel like there's a matter of bad timing because the Disney Plus shows like became the biggest.
a joke. No, right?
They became the most relevant and were coming out the most. And in the time that like the pandemic era where everyone was online streaming everything, and so therefore people had more time than ever at that certain era. Like at the era where it was make or break whether or not it would become worth it, like streaming wise, everyone was was more than ever watching other stuff. Does that make sense?
No,
I think that contributed a little bit. I'm saying that there's a different elements of it, but I'm saying I'm now seeing people watch those shows more than ever, unfortunately.
No,
but
I know
it
that.
feels like it's too late now.
No, it is because it is too late. 'Cause to their perspective, that even
Like,
Kevin
oops.
Feige said, no, Kevin Feige is like, no, I know people like the shows, I know people like the movies, but you weren't there day one. I needed you day one, motherfuckers.
what's-
And
What's
that's what
weird-
sucks about the industry.
Yeah.
Weirdly with that though is like
There's so much, and I don't have
they
enough time.
were popular or when they came out.
Yeah.
They like this idea that they weren't popular is
Okay,
just such
but you
bullshit.
also have to remember you are in your own echo chamber, especially
I'm
online,
let
and
me.
like we often
I want to be
sometimes we
clear.
overestimate it.
I want to be clear. Me saying they're popular, it's not because of what I saw on Twitter. Me saying they were popular is because I've looked at how many subscribers
Numbers,
they
yeah.
gained
Oh no,
during the times they
I
came
agree
out.
as well. No, I think that's that's true. But we also have to remember, unfortunately, these people are also looking at how much attention something holds in like online and trending, like how much like engagement it gets, unfortunately. And I've noticed when something will like get a lot of streams but not a lot of discussion, they also consider that a failure these days. Or even if they get a bunch of money in the box office, they're like, oh well, no one talked about it. And I'm like, and that's made it all even crazier. You know what I mean?
It's like, and then like you have
It's like I don't have time to talk about everything. I'm only one person.
Particularly in the case of She-Hulk, Hulk literally just a few months ago, Brad Winderbaum, the head of Marvel TV, said it was one of their most popular shows. And like
not to like both from genuine popularity and from the hate watchers for sure.
Like these are not failures, and like and it just like when Kevin Feige said that
everything is considered a failure now unless it's like this is something that's really upsetting me. Everything is now considered a failure if it didn't make an insane amount of money. If it didn't make more money than you've ever seen in your life, then you're fucked. And I'm like, that's too much. Or if it wasn't
getting the most it wasn't getting 0 negative comments about it. All right, like
or if it wasn't getting like so much attention that news stations were like talking about it, then it's not enough attention. Yeah, it's like so we reached a peak where like if something isn't like the most successful thing ever, it's considered automatically a complete failure when that's not how life actually works. There is a middle ground that it feels like it's been forgotten.
My annoyance at Kevin Feige for saying that is less because I know that these things are popular, but more just because
it does feel like
the head of a company, as the head of a studio, you should never be saying that anything you made was a mistake.
It's kind of a bad idea.
Is saying
unless you have a good reason for it, like it was like a genuinely an offensive thing from the past, like that makes sense. But
it's this is very much saying a fuck you to all of the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into making it.
But here's the problem.
I would certainly not be happy if I was one of the people who worked on those things and I heard people talk about it like this. I'd be like, oh.
But there's a problem I have that I have to defend Kevin on because Ryan Reynolds and other people convinced him. Like, for example, during the press for Deadpool,
I will say he seems very over. He seems like he's at the end of his rope.
Mm-hmm. No.
Of people are everything he tries, people tell him isn't enough, and I do empathize with that.
No. Kevin Feige, he made the #1 franchise of all time. So billions of dollars, it will always be. Whatever, right?
I fear it's aged him 10 years.
No, but this is the problem. He learned the wrong lesson for Deadpool Wolverine. Because in Deadpool Wolverine, now this is the thing. Deadpool makes fun of everything. He makes fun of Fox, Disney, and Marvel. So of course he makes fun of the MCU in Deadpool and Wolverine. So Ryan Reynolds at one point he said during the press tour, he says, so we're showing Deadpool Wolverine to a bunch of fans. And in the film, Deadpool says, welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're joining a bit of a low point. And then throughout the entire film, Wade is saying, oh yeah, after Endgame, it's been going downhill, miss after miss after miss. And people in the audience are laughing. And Ryan Reynolds said, Kevin Feige looked at everyone, and his face just went down. He went, oh, so you guys do think we're a failure. Okay. So that's basically like Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool 3 convinced Kevin Feige.
I also think that's his insecurities and winning out. I would laugh at that even if I didn't agree with it. Because it's the fact that it's a character in the universe saying it that's kind of funny.
You're saying you're validating internet talk. Deadpool validated it making $1 billion. And Deadpool saying he agrees with me, validated my critique that the MCU went down after Endgame.
Yeah,
and
but the thing is, not everyone thinks like that. Like the problem is that that's all that those people who think in those extreme terms are like with what's being paying attention to. You know what I mean? Whereas me, I'd be chuckling in that theater just because I'm like, that was a funny line delivery.
But what's funny is,
But actually,
Kara,
I loved a bunch of those movies. But because
you know,
like, I wouldn't be taking it so fucking seriously.
but what's funny thing
Like,
is there are some
why is everything like this now?
no, right. But there's also another thing, Kara, that's also kind of drove me kind of crazy. There were some friends of ours that you and I both know who liked Deadpool 3. And then they said, if I have one critique about this film, Wade Wilson worships the MCU too much. I'm
What?
like, I'm like,
What?
they're like, oh yeah,
Not
because
really saying he does.
he's a fanboy of Steve Rogers. He's a fanboy of this. He talks about how he wants to work for Kevin Feige. He loves the MCU. He glazes the MCU the
Suddenly,
entire
he's too
film.
meta.
Yeah.
We liked him breaking the fourth wall before, but we
No,
don't
there's
like
even
it now.
no. There are some movie YouTubers who are
Kind of
also
strange.
kind of like who are like, oh man, Deadpool 1 and 2 are superior because he goes off hill. Deadpool 3 is when the MCU holds him back. I'm like, really?
Ugh.
The same film where he shuts on it is the film they hold him back? Okay.
I feel like just mentioning it at all, these people, because they're not smart, are like, oh, that's counts as worshiping it, and it's like you're just not smart. Sorry, you think like there's some people who think in such extremes without any context or like any like sort of nuance, and I do worry that these are the people that are having the most influence these days.
I mean, they kind of are.
I don't even blame like Kevin because like but like that's the moment where I think his insecurities won out,
Yeah,
and I worry how much human insecurities
that's
when they're people in power will lead to mistakes.
that's a big thing in me. I'm like, I think that a lot of issues that the MCU has run into
I can see
is
standing there and being like, oh,
because
do they hate me? That
because
sucks.
he's listened to the haters online,
He's
and
still a
that's a
person.
like listening to them is has changed things
I
how the MCU
like
is done.
I feel bad for anybody in his position or in like the position of James Gunn or whatever, to where no matter what you do, these people, no matter what they do, they will be
Mhm.
criticized and shit on ad nauseum. And
Yeah.
I do have a level of like I couldn't do that.
No,
It
but
would drive
that's
me it would drive me
Mhm.
crazy. I would
no. I know.
like, and so I feel I and that's another problem with our industry and the capitalism of it all. Like the fact that people are in those positions is entirely like a capitalist thing. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like it's because they need to have someone in charge at that level for money reasons mainly. But and then they have that much power, and then they're like held that much responsible even for stuff that they didn't do because they're the public face, because it pays monetarily to have a public face who actually is representing like some higher executives that don't have like that aren't public facing. So then he becomes the face that everyone shits on for everything they don't like. You know what I mean? He does have control obviously in a lot of ways, and same with James. But it's just a thing where like that I do feel a level of like that's still a person. That sounds
Mhm.
stressful. I feel bad
No,
for anyone
Yeah.
who's like nonstop inundated with that level of criticism. And I can imagine being in an audience when you've dealt with that for so long, you would be hypersensitive to be like, fuck, does this mean they hate me? Does this mean this
Mhm.
is true? When I imagine some people might have thought that in the audience, but I imagine there were people like me who would have just been like, haha, there's a joke. I'm just being a good sport
no, I
and
know. But
letting
with the
myself laugh
but
at a
with
fucking joke.
but with the MCU and with Marvel Studios and then with their rebranding recently,
But I
especially
guess
like
you can't tell the difference. It's hard to tell the difference between a laugh that's like, I actually agree with this for real, and a laugh that's like, haha, that was a joke. And
no,
moving on.
Kevin Feige literally says since Iron Man 1,
I
I
guess
have a
how do you
rule.
tell?
No, Kevin Feige says since Iron Man 1, I have a rule. Every time an MCU movie comes out, for 2 weeks straight, I go to a theater with regular people and I listen to their reactions to see if
He
people
need
like my shit.
low key, he's torturing himself.
No, he's done
Stop.
it. He still does it. He literally says he even told some
I
people
need to
because
contact his therapist.
no, because even some MCU actors said you go to theaters with normal people. They say yeah,
This
and I
feels
listen.
like a
I
form of self-harm.
no, he said I listen to them. I listen to them talk about the film. He says, "I'll be honest. I wish I could teleport to the minds of everyone at Disney Plus who watches the show, so I can listen to what they're saying." And he's saying this to
And
John
I
Favreau.
don't think that's healthy.
But
That's no
he's
see, do you see how that's reaching a level of unhealthiness?
yeah, but that's why
Mhm.
And
now.
but I don't blame him because he's been put into that position
No,
as
no,
his
right,
job.
right. So that's
And
why
I'm like, that's just not good for people. That
right. So
I
with
don't think that's good for the human mind.
no. That's why with Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars, there's a lot of things that people don't know is writing on it. Because Secret Wars, he pretty much said they already confirmed the Disney Plus characters will be in the movies. If they're great in the movies, they won't be in shows anymore. If they're not good in the movies, they'll go back to being TV shows. That's basically because that's the hole you put me in as Kevin Feige. You decide the fate of these characters, not me. It's like, I mean, that's
Yeah,
even
no, it
James
feels
Gunn
like
is doing
that.
with DC.
It feels like that system is like it's stress. I feel like it kind of wears down at your ability to be truly creative in some ways.
And then with Eric
Mhm.
Kripke and Amazon, now Gen V was renewed for season 3, right? It was renewed for season 3 when season 2 came out. But then Eric Kripke, he decided as a storyteller, as a writer, he claims,
I heard about this.
yeah, he basically says, I know where the characters are going. It won't be season 3 of Gen V. No more Gen V. Pretty much, we all know it's gonna be the fucking Soldier Boy TV show.
What it really sounds like is he
Yeah.
made a deal that was like,
Yeah.
hey, can I trade making more Gen B to make this other thing?
Yeah.
And then I'll just include it in that because it sounds like they were basically in a green light. Okay, do the next thing. And he was like, but what if I take your green light for that and I convince you to instead apply it to something else? Like
Which is also,
that's it sounds like based on like both of our like all of our understanding of the industry. That's what you read
Mhm.
between the lines when he says like when they talk about that in between the lines. It's like he clearly gave up Gen B as a sacrifice and decided all the characters would just be shuffled over to the other shows.
yeah. No, it's also one thing again, like the MCU, Eric Kripke kind of became the
And
equivalent
maybe
again.
he did that partially because he thought that would help them escape the elephant in the room. Maybe it's like I'm not saying that would be a good
Yeah.
decision, but maybe he agreed that there was an elephant in that specific room and they needed to take all the other characters to another room to escape
there's
the elephant.
also
But does that work?
no. There was also another
Or is
thing.
the elephant always going to follow them?
So there's also another thing with because
Is the
Eric
elephant the friends we made along the way?
no. There's also another thing that Eric Kripke said that I kind of believe him on, but there's a moment where I'm like, so you suck to your creative heels here, but not here, because he basically
I guess
said
you have to pick your battles, but
no, because he basically said he said, oh yeah, I had the ending for the show planned years ago, which seems to be true. I believe him there. In Gen V, a show produced by him, supervised by him, that he was kind of involved in. It was written by other people. In Gen V, they set up Marie Moreau, Homelander's cousin, because they confirmed they're related, right?
yeah.
Homelander's cousin. You're meant to take him down. Like John Carlo Esposito, Gus from Breaking Bad says, you're my weapon against him.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the boys' final season.
Everyone was hyped for it, by the way.
Right.
Even people who like didn't love the boys were like, we liked this character a lot.
No,
she's fucking awesome.
Right. And then so many people leading up to the boys' final season, like even some friends of mine.
Bisexual Jesus.
No, like a friend of mine who's black and gay was kind of like, well, I guess Eric Kripke's part of the Ku Klux Klan because fucking Marie is here for 2 damn episodes and she ain't doing shit. And it's like,
I mean, I know that's obviously probably somewhat in a joking tone, as you know, but there is a layer of truth to being like when you're constantly getting fucked over as of your demographics, you know, both in ethnicity and sexuality and gender.
Yeah.
Every time it happens again, you're like, well, here we fucking go again. Why am I surprised?
Oh yeah, which like Brayden I had talked about with the character Jordan and how they don't even mention the fact that they're all
bigender.
They're multiple genders, and
in the show, in the boys,
in the boys,
when she's in
the 2 episodes of the boys that they appear in, and they just have one of the 2 actors appear, and they never bring up the fact that
they don't.
The character's bi.
They don't even.
She's in her female form for both episodes. She doesn't even shift to being a man. And
that is.
There.
Yeah. Like
it gives off the vibe to me of like Eric Kripke didn't want to deal with having to hear the right wingers backlash about it by having that in the bigger show.
Especially since that's the show that's the audience that I've and how whatever they meant to the show ended up cultivating a lot of, you know what I mean? Like
well that's one of the problems with Eric Kripke. He really underestimated people's I think this is one of the reasons why he looks down on people like TV viewers, because you can kind of hear his resentment, his arrogance in his interviews. He basically said, for 2 to 3 seasons, I'm making fun of right-wing people. I'm kind of taking some shots at leftists. I'm making fun of Disney for pretending to be like he was basically saying, I think
making
Disney,
fun of like rainbow capitalism.
He basically said
it's less making fun of leftists and more making fun of people who are just
right
lying.
So after
You're just
around two,
liars.
so after around like 2 to 3 seasons, he's looked at some stuff online and he's like, "Holy shit, Trump supporters like my show. Are they out of their fucking minds? I hate them." I said, "Let me just double down on shitting on Trump. Maybe they get to their fucking heads." And then around season 4, they did. But even then, the right wing was still kind of like, fair than that woke bullshit, the MCU. And like, you guys shit on black women and all this other stuff. You guys know that white men are meant to save the day. Which is why, even though I like the end of the boys, it's still kind of funny that at the end of the day, Eric Kripke, despite him hating Trump and hating conservative talking points, he was still like, I don't want Marie, a black bisexual woman, to be here for the final fight against Homelander. Because she's not in my vision. I didn't want her here. I had this image of two white men fighting.
Yeah, that kind of clearly comes through
Mhm.
there, and I imagine that also might apply to I imagine maybe Eric was like, yeah, you can have like a bigender character in that show, but I don't know about doing it in my show, or maybe
yeah.
they just, or it might be less malice and more they don't care enough about to represent that to pay both actors, and they'd rather cheap out and only pay one actor
What?
and just
What?
not bother, and that
No.
is not necessarily malicious, but it's a lack of
Mhm.
care. It's a lack
It,
of giving a fuck.
but it's also another thing with the final season of the boys show. Eric Kripke's he's a hardworking person. He writes a lot. He develops a lot. He kept saying, especially if it was like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, the Genevieve characters will return in the near future," and he was basically acting like all the complaints you guys have with the final season about too much setup for that Soldier Boy TV show. You're gonna watch that Soldier Boy TV show. Shut the fuck up. Like he was basically kind of like, "You'll be there. You'll all be there. Like you, no matter what, you all cave in and watch my boy Jensen Ackles, who I love dearly, and I've destroyed the final season of my show, making it all about him." No, but even like when the actors for Genevieve, when they put out their statement saying, "I still got a job. I don't know when, but I got a job." So the way I'm thinking, I'm just kind of like, so you were fine casting the show because in the back of your mind, you're taking these characters and you're gonna force them to be in something else. I'm like, okay. Like it's a problem that like even like James Gunn and Kevin Feige run into of like
Yeah. Like
you're
there's actually, and the ironic thing is the people who were left in charge after Eric Kripke left Supernatural ran into this issue where they didn't realize, for all your world building, people don't automatically want to watch another show in the same universe just because
Mhm.
yeah.
you said so.
Oh yeah, John.
Like,
For
people can
context.
underestimate how much that their specific show has a specific recipe,
Mhm.
whether it's character dynamics or something that won't always transfer to another show. It's actually quite like rare.
No, no,
And
yeah.
that's
So
why I think that Leverage and Librarians is really impressive, but it captures so much of the same feeling, even with different characters, to where you
Mhm.
feel like you're right back in a way that's really hard to do.
no,
I think
also yeah.
Stargate also did this well up until Universe, but
So
we won't get into that.
no, yeah. So John, some fun facts you might not know about Supernatural. Supernatural obviously a big hit for the Warner Brothers slash the CW, right?
Yeah.
And there was seven, no, yeah, 5 to 7 failed attempts to make a spinoff show. They
It
would
was
have
crazy.
no,
Yeah.
The
they would
most
have
failed spin-offs I've really seen in the last 4 decades.
because the amount of
Mhm.
times people at Warner Brothers or even in the fandom was like, we love
No,
Sam,
we
we love
don't
Sam,
care.
we love Sam and Dean, we love Jared and Jensen. We don't care about anyone else. And then another thing,
And
John,
also,
Yeah.
no, you're
Yeah.
forgetting something, Brayden.
Yeah.
but
There's a huge amount of people that would be fine with Jared leaving because
yeah,
what they care about is Dean and Castiel. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
was one of them.
No,
Sorry,
no, no.
Jared.
You know,
I
No,
wouldn't
no,
have
no.
given a
yes,
Also,
fuck.
I
also, another thing, John. Some MCU history that connects to Supernatural. Before Jeremy Renner played Hawkeye, Jensen Ackles was in consideration to play
Hmm.
Hawkeye. And basically, Warner Bros. Told him, if you want to leave the show, we can. We got to kill off Dean. And he was kind of like, no, I'll just stay here until the show is over, not knowing it would take 15 years of his life and his career.
Mhm.
And what's funny is Eric Kripke tried to give him an out. There was a moment he actually killed off Dean and told Jensen, hey, if you want to go for a bit, go do a movie and then come back. I'll resurrect you. And Jensen was like, I'm right here, man. I'm not leaving you. So
Mhm.
So then he
he,
just resurrected immediately, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
yeah. So he actually
And that
lost.
started a long chain of
Yeah, and
things.
then even Jared Padalecki, he was in the Friday the 13th movie in 2009, and people were like, "Oh man, Jared is great. He's gonna become a big star in Hollywood. We should get him to do more movies." And Jared was like, "I'll stay right here." So they
To be fair, it was
destroyed.
a steady paycheck.
No, they
I don't blame him
destroyed.
for that.
No, right. So like they kind of like destroyed any movie career possibilities for years for that damn show.
Mhm.
And then
Especially
right,
considering the age, like even for men, the way that like
yeah,
there's a certain age demographic that if you don't get into movies, then it's harder.
yeah. And then what's funny is the only actor who left Supernatural and then wound up joining the MCU. There's a character, I forget her name, but she's meant to be the female version of Dean, and she's played by Catherine Newton, who ended up playing Cassie in Ant-Man 3 and is going to be in Doomsday. But she and her sister in the show was supposed to get their own spinoff. Like, oh, here's a female version of Supernatural, two
They
girls.
did get it, and it was the spinoff that lasted the longest, by the way.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
The lesbians and sapphics showed up for that enough to where it lasted like I think a season.
Yeah. And then eventually when Supernatural was over, one of the most bizarre things ever,
Let me double
because
check that. Let me fact check myself.
Yeah.
Go on.
and the most bizarre things ever, Supernatural got a prequel show called The Winchesters about Dean and Sam's parents, and Jensen Ackles shows up to cameo in it.
Yeah. So that Winchester show, I remember. Before that came out.
I see. I'm mixing up
about,
the one about Cassie and the Winchesters.
talking to some family who are big Supernatural fans about that, and I was like, I'm like, what I said it reminds me a lot of the criticism that a lot of people have had about the Bot Rising show.
Yeah.
I said I was saying to my I'm like, isn't it kind of weird choice to make a show about Sam and Dean's abusive father? And then like with Bot Rising, we have a lot of people rightfully being like, isn't it weird that we're making a show about about a Nazi superhero?
I think that there is a way to do stuff about like bad people but when it's in the context of a franchise where you were focused on the characters that were being harmed by these people first, it's but I do think there's a way to do it well. It is just questionable, especially in the current political climate of like, why are we focusing on this? Why is this the move?
The thing that most irritates, the thing that most like, okay, when it comes to people who are friends with each other, there's one moment in the boys' final season where I'm like, this is funny. This is also kind of sweet. Like when seeing Jared Jensen and Misha Collins, who plays Cassio, together in the scene again, and they're trying their hardest not to be
Brother, I could not be more pissed.
No, but it was funny, especially when to reference Destiel,
bruh,
Jensen
I'll kill everyone in this. I'm going like personally. I need to assassinate Eric Kripke. I'm not sure if you cut that,
so
but like, like let it die.
No, he kills Misha Collins. Like Jensen Ackles snaps.
I heard that.
Yeah. And then I remember some friends of mine.
Admittedly, it's funny.
No. It's that even some friends of mine were kind of, you know what you should have done? You should have had him kiss him, then kill him to piss off the DCL people. But okay.
That would have been funny, but they're too cowardly to even do that.
No, right. And then there were some people in reactions who were kind of like, this feels important. This feels needed in a way. And I'm like, yeah, that's sweet. That's sweet. One problem. He's turning the entire universe upside down for Jensen over here because Eric Kripke feels bad that he left him to suffer for 15 years on Supernatural. It's like, I left you, boy.
They're they have a weird bromance going on, and it's destroying the show.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
He's like, fuck Marie Moreau. Fuck all the black and gay characters in my universe. You, my white friend. You
my white lover.
It's always been you and me, Jensen. Let me suck your dick.
I agree. Like I am wondering. I'm like, why are you guys so obsessed with each other?
And then what kills me is that when he was in season 3 of the show, Jensen Atkins, as
it's not that he's a bad actor.
No, he's a good actor. No, he's a good actor. And then in season 3 of
I recall thinking back in the day he wouldn't make a terrible Hawkeye or Batman when I was being discussed. I was like, that wouldn't be bad.
No,
but I'm not but I am like, I don't want you to shove this. Let it die. Stop shoving this down my throat. Stop.
No. And then what's funny is
I just realized it's giving midlife crisis.
Yeah. No, there's actually one moment.
It's giving Eric Kripke's midlife crisis has disrupted the show.
No, and then with Gen V, the thing that always killed me, well, actually not killed, like one of the best parts of Gen V, they had these great cameos that didn't feel forced. It felt part of the world, and it felt cohesive to the story. Like, there are times where a character will first appear in Gen
Mhm.
V, and then they'll go to the boys for a little bit, and it would
Heck,
fit.
heck, there's one particular character that I enjoyed a lot more in his Gen V appearance than his boys appearance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
I think
no,
you
but
can
like,
know who I'm talking about.
actually, no, you should probably say it.
Tech Knight.
Oh yeah, he's way better.
He's honestly really fun to watch in Gen V, and then you go to the boys
He's a
Oasis
fucking rapist,
episodes,
yeah.
and it's like, oh dear God.
No, that's also another thing that kind of ruined some of the transitioning in between the Gen V and the boys. So when Tech Knight shows up in Gen V, he's very much meant to be like a parody on like stuff like Psych and the Mentalist. Like he's just a witty detective who's an asshole. Then in the boys, he's played by the same actor, but when he's in the
Mhm.
boys, he's like, "You're in the boys show now. You gotta be disgusting, fetishizing, kind of a rapist. Go." I
Yeah,
was like, it's
yeah, like he literally did
Welcome to Rape
rape
City.
Huey.
yeah,
He really
yeah,
did rape Huey, and then
yeah,
they didn't let Huey have any
yeah. And
time
also
to
another
deal
thing,
with that.
And
and
didn't
also
wasn't that played as like a joke at the time?
no,
Yeah,
it was
it
played as a
was.
joke. No, because Eric
I
Kripke.
remember this, and I
No,
was
because
like,
Eric.
why are we doing this?
No, this is also the reason why I hate the
Uh,
boys season four because basically Eric Kripke,
This is
he's
Loki.
like
Also, you can tell Zeth is less involved with the more
he got
recent
less
stuff
involved.
because
Yeah,
it's like, whoa,
no, he
because
got
it's
way
just
less involved.
it's you can tell that his touch is gone, and I think that's what made the beginning what people liked.
mhm.
No, no, no. And then
Because I think
with
he and other people balanced out Eric more, and now it's just become Eric's show.
yeah, no, no, because with Eric Kripke, he basically is pretty much been confirmed by everyone. It kind of got out, and they're all friends. Though there are some of them who are fighting because they're mad about certain creative stuff. But basically, when Jack Quaid was in Across the Spider Verse as Peter Parker in one scene, and he's also in My Adventure Superman as Clark Kent. Eric Kripke brought him over, and it's like, why are you doing all the superhero shit? Couldn't you wait till after your shit was done as Huey? And Jack's like, well, I'm a superhero fan. I love doing stuff, and it's nice to be something that's
So I
family
have a
friendly.
life.
So that's when it's like, okay, family friendly, huh? Okay, let me remind you something. That's when that's when he's like, I can't rape you in real life, Jack Quaid, but I can rape your character. So that's why he did it. Like
And
basically,
that
Yeah,
feels weird.
he had him raped multiple times in the season.
yeah, 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 and by different ways. And then he made it to a joke.
And
And then
doing
Same.
stuff like spitefully like that, it's like that's the thing where and that's where people need checks and balances to hold them back from having complete
Mhm.
like maniacal control over something, but that
no,
seems to have been
and then
gone.
and that's also another thing. Carl Urban himself, he was liking Instagram and Twitter posts shitting on the final season of The Boys because though he liked the ending and though he likes working with everyone, he was apparently really upset at some stuff. And I think I know which one of stuff it was, but basically, based off some stuff, Carl Urban was promised some stuff to do. And then Eric Kripke changed his mind and reset the final season and took away those plot lines for him.
Mm.
And seemingly it was also done just because of like this is the weird thing. A lot of the boys cast, some of them are friends, some of them aren't friends, some of them are a little bit weird, and some of
You
them
know.
are kind of like I'm kind of happy it's over because I really want to move on. And
I'll be
with
real,
Eric,
I don't think that's the thing you want your entire career attached to.
no, that's why Jack Quaid. That's why Jack Quaid is like, yes, I'll be Superman. Yes, I'll be this. I'll be a fucking cube in a God of War game. Let me voice a cube. I want
And
to.
he's doing a great job. He's doing great.
No, that's why he. That's why he's. And even Carl Urban, he's like, I want to be Johnny Cage. I want to do this. I want to do this. Like he's even though he liked playing Butcher, there's a moment where he's kind of like, yeah, I can't just beat this
We're
forever.
done.
Yeah, and even
It's over.
no, right. And then what kills me is that like, you, whenever they
Until they
appear,
show him enough money, I guess.
yeah, yeah, no, trust me, it's over. No, but like, with Gen V, the thing that made it stand out, that made a lot of people kind of fall in love with the show, is they were like, it's in a cynical universe, but it's about the characters trying to find hope. And that is a
Yeah.
beautiful message.
Mhm.
And you can feel the hope. It's about to come. It's the sun, the sun is about to rise, so to speak. And even the boys' series finale, I actually like the ending, despite some issues I have with the final season. And the end it ends on Huey smiling and being happy. It ends on a hopeful, better universe because certain characters are dead. And I'm like, this is cool. This is great. and Gen V season 3 would have been the perfect sequel to this.
Yeah,
Because
it
Gen
would have
V's
been a good lead
Yeah, it would have
in
been great.
Yeah,
of like, here's how the new status quo. Yeah.
no, just one season of Gen V of them being an actual uh hopeful event. Because with Gen V,
Mhm.
there is some great satire in Gen V, and there's even like some great stuff where I'm like, huh, I'm glad you guys kind of talked about this, and it feels more genuine. Because like in the Boys TV show, they'll be kind of like, let's talk about how Joss Whedon is this. I'm like, cool. You're talking about some asshole directors in the superhero genre. Okay. Then they'll be like, that same character who's a parody of Joss Whedon, we're gonna bring him back to kill him off so you can feel sorry for him. And you're
It's
like,
like,
what?
okay.
And I'm like, okay, so wait, what are you saying? I
Yeah.
should feel sorry for Joss Whedon
Well,
or not? Like,
I
okay,
guess I wouldn't be very like for all of his crimes. I don't think I'd necessarily jump for joy if he died, but I don't think
yeah, but even like,
it's weird narratively when
no,
you're
no,
making a
then
character a
Yeah.
joke and then you're like, and now feel bad for being
then
laughing, and it's like, what, you made me laugh.
and then the Boys season 3, the Joss Whedon parody character, he's also a parody of Zack Snyder. And there was a moment where I'm like, okay, oh come on, man, don't like, okay, I get what.
A bit much is happening, I think.
No. But there was a moment I was kind of like, okay, now obviously I have issues with Zack Snyder, and he's kind of a weird man, but for the most part, he makes some very talented films, and he has some very
people
annoying
tend
fans.
to he's annoying
But
fans, but the haters also tend to take some cheap shots where I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
y'all need
no,
to relax.
I mean, no. I remember there were some people who hated Zack Snyder who really wanted Zack Snyder to be a rapist, so they could justifiably
And
hate him
I
in
think
public.
that's always the weirdest thing. It's like,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
are
Yeah.
you wanting bad things to happen?
yeah, yeah.
What?
So obviously with the Snyder Cut, even though the Snyder Cut campaign was filled with people who did terrible things, they harassed and did racist stuff. Zack Snyder called them out as best he could, but he couldn't stop them. There was also some people in the Snyder Cut campaign who raised people for charity stopping suicide because Zack Snyder started committing
Yeah.
suicide, and the movie's in tribute to Zack Snyder's daughter. So at one point in The Boys season 3,
It's when people take shots at that I'm like, we don't need to do that.
no, right.
Yeah.
So in The Boys season 3, the Joss Whedon parody character, who's played by a great actor, he's at the premiere of some film at The Boys season 3, and he's kind of like, "Oh, thank you all guys so much for supporting me. Release the board cut. I couldn't be here without any of you." And then cut to a season later, he's Joss Whedon, and he's in like sexual harassment training. So I'm like, so you created a character that's a fusion of Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder, and what am I supposed to feel about him? This parody makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then
I feel differently about those two people.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, I think it assumes that we hate all these annoying like directors that get talked about the same, and it's like, no, I don't think that's true.
Yeah, and then that's one of like the weirdest parts. It's kind of like Seth Rogen is genuine. Like he's very much like, oh no, I love all these guys. He pretty much was like, oh no, I like Marvel and I like DC. I would gladly work with them, but Green Hornet taught me a lesson, which is I'm not the leading man. I'm not meant to be the superhero. I'm not meant to be that. And so that's why.
Also,
Meanwhile, I disagree, and I want another Green Hornet movie.
I loved the Green Hornet movie. I
Same.
would love to have another other of that.
We are the
But
Green
also-
Hornet fandom.
But
Yeah.
also, I would
Carry the flame.
I'd very much say that maybe there was a time where he might not have been good to be a lead of a superhero film. I think now he's a much different person. Arson, and he is.
I could see
he has very much, particularly in the time since he left Franco's ass. He has become so much of a deeper actor, and a deeper person behind the scenes.
I think it would actually work.
Yeah.
It would work to do a Green Hornet sequel now that is set in real life that long, this long after the first one, and shows them like fully realized.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think that would be awesome.
No, and then
I remember back when like a lot of people, myself included, were saying that he would be a good Ben Grimm for Fantastic Four. And there were other people being like, "Oh no, he's just a joke guy." I'm like, "Have you seen
Ben
him
Grimm
in the past?
Isn't funny.
Have you seen him in the past? Like 10 years. He's done a lot more or serious stuff.
Not to mention Ben quips a lot,
and also Ben does joke.
Ben talks shit.
Like
Ben
Yeah.
talks shit all the time.
And
he's
then-
not just this one note guy that you guys have decided that Seth Rogen is.
Yeah.
No, right.
He's
And then
really good in the studio.
and then with no, right, with studio, that's his love letter to acting in Hollywood in general. And then with Seth Rogen's a great producer.
He clearly ditched paying attention to the boys to work on the studio.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
and then,
think that's fair.
no, and then what's funny is Seth Rogen's in charge of 3 comic book universes at the same time. Because the boys is like his first one after Green Hornet, right? Then he produces and voices in Invincible, and people are like, "Oh, this is really great. You're actually adapting the comic book really well. You let Robert Kirkman, the writer, do this animated show for fun. Cool." Then he also produced and starred in the film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, which came out in 2023. It's a fun
I still
animated
haven't
superhero
watched
film.
it, but I heard lots of good things about it.
You would like it. It's a fun
Okay.
animated superhero film. So he basically cornered off. He's like, okay, The Boys, anti superhero cynicism, Invincible, a pure comic book adaptation from Robert Kirkman, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the thing I'm doing, that's for fans who want family friendly. It's like he cornered off like 3 different aspects of comic book adaptations, and in them because in The Boys he plays himself or joke characters. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles he plays Rocksteady the Rhino, and in Invincible he plays Alan the Alien, because Robert Kirkman really wanted. It's like, hey, if you're producing this Invincible thing, you should be in there as someone.
Mhm.
And with The Boys show and Gen V, you can clearly, as you point out, Kara, you can clearly tell he left out. Because even though what's funny,
Yeah, it's and when everyone's like, "Oh, it's so different," and I'm like, "Yeah, for an obvious reason." Look
no,
at the timeline.
and what's funny is, Kara, he shows up in the final season of The Boys for a funny cameo. But there was a moment where some people were like, "Seth, you're paying tribute to a film that's too old." So you remember? Have you guys ever seen the
Me
film?
watching the second Librarian movie and being
No, right.
like, "Oh, this is literally Alan Quartermain," but no one knows who Alan Quartermain is.
No, yeah. No, so This Is the End, which came out in 2013. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it.
I've seen it, yeah.
No, so have you seen it, Kira?
Hold on, let me look up. It sounds familiar.
Hmm.
I don't think I've seen it. Actually, I think I did. I've seen it, but like one time. So I don't remember it very well.
Okay, so This Is the End.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I
So
recall
This Is the End is an apocalyptic comedy where Seth Rogen and all the other actors in it, Jay Baruchel, James Franco, Danny McBride, Emma Watson, Rihanna, all these cameos, they play themselves. Like, what if we were all asshole celebrities with our names?
Yeah,
and the rapture
I
happens.
know a lot about.
Right.
I don't think I've like watched it in a long time. We should rewatch it.
Right, so yeah, it's a fun movie. And in The Boys' final season, in the same episode with Misha Collins and Jared Padalecki, we see Seth Rogen, Kamal Nanjiani, and several other actors playing themselves. Will Forte, and they're talking about like, oh my God, man, Homelander, he's blacklisting, he's putting away all these actors for being anti-Homelander. We gotta be careful. And then at one point, Soldier Boy kills them all and Craig Robinson in different funny ways. And then so Seth Rogen films his death scene, and then Jared Padalecki kills him, and it's really funny. But there was a moment where, like, if you told me the show would have Seth Rogen getting killed by Jared Padalecki, because Seth Rogen was kind of like it felt like an apology, like, I'm sorry I couldn't be here, kill me. As a cameo in the final season of The Boys. But the way I also took it was Seth Rogen being like, I'm gone, bitches. I'm out. Fuck this shit.
Bye. I'm no longer directly involved with this franchise, and we can all tell.
Real quick, well, I hear a fun little fact about This Is the End. So, after my father died at the end, near the end of 2021, so that like a week later or something like that, we had all my family in town for the funeral, and my one of my older brothers, for some godforsaken reason, was like, we should all watch This Is the End with my mom. And it was just like, this is one very weird time for us to be watching this film. Our father just died, and but then also just the fact that we were watching it all as a family just made it the most awkward experience ever. And we were just like most of us were just like, ah, this is. It's not nearly as funny when you're watching it with your mom. It's more just like
That makes sense.
There's
It also depends.
there
It
is
depends
a
on your mom because I watched it with my mom
oh,
and she didn't give a fuck.
there
But
there is a giant demon with its penis out in the film.
Yeah.
I'm like,
this is how it felt to
why
take.
did you choose this film? And I literally talked to my other brothers about it afterwards, and everybody I was like, "Yeah, I don't know why he chose that film. I like that
I
was
think
a
he was trying to
weird
be like,
choice."
no, I think he was trying to like, oh, let's just watch a comedy to cheer us all up in our grief.
Like,
But he chose the wrong comedy.
it was just like that was a weird choice.
Yeah,
What were you say, Kira?
that's how it felt to take my 60-plus-year-old roommate to go see I Love Boosters.
Oh,
And if you know, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still gonna check that out in the near future.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So and we don't even talk about different stuff, but with Gen V, it is funny because like there are people who hate the boys who love Gen V. There are people who like the boys who like Gen V, and then there are some other people who are kind of like it's kind of sad. If Gen V was the show that was made first, like before the boys, it would have more time to blow up. You know what I mean?
It's just,
And
I think what upsets me the most, and
yeah,
I said this when it got announced, is like it's the first show we've had,
yeah,
in my knowledge, where like a bigender character not only exists but calls himself bigender,
yeah,
which is like really rare for people. You know what I mean? But there have been other characters in the past who kind of like basically were written as bigender, but were just
Coded.
called like or even in Genlock, Valentina is gender fluid,
yeah,
and there's gender fluid. There's being gender fluid. There's being
Mhm.
fluid multigender. You know what I mean? Which is where you fluidly flow back and forth, like kind of between the different genders you feel with. You know what I mean? And then there's rigid multigender, which is like what I identify with, which is where you're always multiple genders at the same time, and it doesn't fluctuate. It's always simultaneous. There's no fluidity back and forth or anything like that. But a lot of the times, especially cis people represent their idea of just fluidity in general by sometimes accidentally representing the specific concept of a fluid bigender person without realizing that's what they've done.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because and part of that is because some of like the just like the misconceptions, you know what I mean? But there's still not this awareness of, so there's like even less awareness of rigid multigender, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And what's interesting is Jordan, despite being able to shapeshift, specifically says like it's interesting because it seemed like Jordan was figuring out whether or not they were truly fluid
Yeah.
in their gender or not in real time, and we might not get to see the end result of that. You know what I mean? Because at first it seemed like Jordan was like more of like a fluid going back and forth and feeling like one gender at a time. But then it started to seem like it was deeper than that, you know what I mean? And that was just how other people were interpreting it. And like, which is common. But it's sad that we'll never get to see like more depth of that with like the discussion of a bigender character, even if they are like a shapeshifter played by two cis actors, which is like,
Yeah. No, there was
not,
actually.
I don't dislike, like, it's one of those things where like we have so little representation. I'm gonna take what I can get.
Yeah.
No, right. I remember
You know
a
what I
friend of.
mean?
No, I
But it
remember.
is kind of, there is a level of like, I think what annoys me the most is even when I go to look at like the wiki and stuff, you know what I mean, to like back check stuff, they call they everyone conflates sex and gender
Yeah.
specifically, not to say that they aren't related, you know what I mean, but like in a specific way where it very much, the way fans talk about it and even the show kind of like want to talk about it is as if they are not the gender until they've shapeshifted. You know what I mean? And they're only one gender at a time based, and it's entirely determined by their ability to shapeshift. And that's the stuff that is kind of like a little bit, definitely like a cis person wrote this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is clear, or like a cis person was involved in like making this in some way, you know what I mean? But I think it's definitely like better than nothing, and I think that they were starting to like, from what I've seen, they were starting to dive into a little more of exploring like the fact that for a lot of the time people would just box Jordan in and be like, you have to be this or that, you have to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, and which is, you hear both in bisexuality and in being multigender. And there's actually a quote that's about bisexuality, but I feel is also applicable to being bigender, that I wanted to read real quick, that I think reminds me of Jordan a lot, and why Jordan's powers, like, it makes sense that they represent like this, you know what I mean? And so hold on. And this is the quote: "Until a bisexual woman questions, confronts, and accepts herself positively as a bisexual woman, she is likely to feel like two separate people walking around in the same body. She is likely to feel always slightly cut off from the people around her, slightly out of place everywhere. Put off by the claims of separatists and heterosexists, yet identifying with the rejection each group feels at the hands of the others, she often feels more defined by what she is not than by what she is." Which is a quote from Deborah Gregory, from Where I Stand, A Case for Feminist Bisexuality, which is from a larger group of essays called Sex and Love, New Thoughts on Old Contradictions. So that's like fully feminist literature. I'm gender literature, I'm sexuality literature, I'm pulling out for this.
Nice.
But I think you see what I mean, of like the way that division is in some ways, is like the way that they're constantly framed as having to choose, you know what I mean, and switch between the two. And I also find it interesting that their powers are different but still have lots of overlap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it almost feels like there was a build up to like there could be a point of like no longer being restricted by only presenting like maybe Jordan could have evolved to like change only certain parts of the body at a time. You know what I mean? Instead of having to do a full switch all the time of every single feature. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's
Instead,
something they could have put up too.
instead
Yeah.
starting to like merge and create what they want to represent as at any given time, like, and get more complex and in depth with that, and explore more of like less of like the either or thing, because like that seemed to be, but we'll never get that now, and it's sad because like as a bigender person, in general, that's like the only like the representation we really actually had. And even then, I don't think it's perfect per se, but like, but it's also like it
was progress.
Yeah,
progress, you know what I mean? But there also is like the idea of like, there's a long history of non-binary characters being coded through non-human characters or shapeshifters, you know what I mean? And there's both negative and positive connotations there, because a lot of us non-binary people, we like the idea of shapeshifting, you know what I mean? And like, that's kind of like the mnemonic clip I showed you, you know what I mean? Where that can be both a really good metaphor for that, like the idea of being like identifying as change itself, you know what I mean, for some people, or as being a simultaneous entity. But how to represent that to other people in a society that doesn't have the same way of seeing it that you do internally. I think that conflict is interesting when it arises through literally being able to switch your presentation, you know what I mean? But and what I think also gets kind of like overlooked in the fandom, or like from what I've seen, is the fact that Jordan is explicitly like a trans femme non-binary character, trans femme non-binary bigender character, who was like assigned a certain like, biological sex at birth, and then got compound V and was able to transform. And like, what's interesting is the scene that I find really interesting is with the dad.
Yeah.
That I went and rewatched, where the dad's like, it's so interesting because the dad's like, I'm not a bigot. I get it when people are like so like quote unquote trapped in a body, and they don't have a choice, you know what I mean, or whatever, and their only way that they can do something is for transitioning. But then the dad's like, but you have a choice. You could just present like, basically like, and it's very much like the dad was like, I can tell that you like are both genders, but why don't you just only represent? Why don't you just like only be one?
What makes me comfortable?
In the same way that people will often be like, oh, I know you're bisexual, but can you just not, like, can you just choose? And so there's that overlap there, where it's like, it makes me uncomfortable. And so like, and there's very much like that, and I find it interesting that that's the one that the dad, despite claiming not to be a bigot, wants Jordan to stay as the one that he associates with assigning like Jordan at birth, instead of being like, oh, you could, like, specifically he says that he's not a bigot and he understands trans people, and then it's just like, oh, but you should not even basically it was like you should be binary, but not the girl kind. Like you need to be binary and also be a guy. So there's layers there of like the trans like misogyny and the NB phobia and like against most gender people, where it's like you need to choose and also you need to make the right choice. And because and that's also there with like bisexuality too, because Jordan's also bisexual, we know, where it's like, and a lot of bigender people are bisexual, like they kind of like come in like clutch.
Yeah, no, and also, what I love about that scene, obviously, there's a lot of great acting in the show, but one of my favorite things in superhero stuff, horror, fantasy, whatever, is when you could have grounded, borderline realistic conversations, even with
Yeah.
an element that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Because like, especially like that dad, what I liked about it is the dad explains himself, and it's still a very insecure reason. They don't try like I thought he was gonna try to say something like, "Oh, I want you to stay a boy because men get attacked less than women." That's why I thought they would go with it. But the fact that at the end of the day, he was just uncomfortable. He didn't even think about.
He was just like,
her.
no. He was just like, you're my firstborn son, and that's more important to me than actually my real child that's in front of me. The idea of having a son, which is like has that misogyny rolled into it.
Yeah. Going back to like the shape shifting and how there have been a lot of different like things that are gender fluid or trans characters who they use that as a way to represent it.
It's a fantasy for many trans people, so there's that.
I think though this show does that in a much better way than most shows.
Yeah, it's pretty grounded.
I say that in the because of the of how it's just changing between in these two bodies. It's not like a character like Mystique, where and I find that to be important because like a character like Mystique, when they transform into someone, they are not them. They are pretending, and I think it's a bad. I think it's a bad as a thing to be like to try and say that that is the representation of who trans people are, that or non-binary people or gender fluid people are like
also versus, does this well.
Versus like this is like there is no there's absolutely no pretending whatsoever.
You're not imitating someone else.
Yeah, you're not you're not trying to manipulate people.
Which is
the case with a character like Mystique.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's also something they fall into accidentally with Double Trouble and She-Ra, which you haven't seen, but like is a non-binary character who's a shapeshifter who can like take on people's
I heard about it. Yeah.
Which like was written by like a binary like writer, which like works. But what I find is that same writer wrote Nimona, which has a much more like closer to this in a way, even though where like they can imitate people, but they rarely do because they're more interested in like constantly changing between the different forms she prefers, like that her like humanoid form and then turning into like different animals. But every time she can't perfectly imitate anything because there will always be like a sign it's her. And I think that's part like a way to subvert that, you know what I mean? Like even when the one time she does imitate someone, you can still tell it's her because there's pink in her hair. There will always be like pink, and every animal she turns into is pink instead of like what that animal would actually look like. So you can tell it's her just shifting, and like the way she describes it is very much like she identifies as the shift, the change itself instead of any state. You know what I mean? Which is like the clip I showed you where she's like, if I don't change for too long, I start to feel itchy because I am the change, not the thing I'm appearing as right now. Like, but at the same time, everything she's appearing as is still her. Like, it's just however she's presenting at the time, but she doesn't stay in one presentation for long, which is a good representation of like really fluid people. You know what I mean? She's like very much a highly fluid non-binary character. And I think, fluid non-binary characters are the ones that usually get shape-shifting powers, but that's why I find it interesting with characters like Jordan in this and also Valentina from Genlock, where they specifically, move back and forth between their two presentations of their body through their different like bi-gender preferences. I think there's a character that also does this in Genlock, and that I think if that character was written now, they would call that character by gender, because they didn't know the word other than gender fluid at the time. They didn't know there was an extra descriptor there that would specify more. But Brayden can agree with me. That character is very much a fluid by gender character that moves back and forth between two states.
Yeah.
And something particularly with Jordan, I find very interesting. They did, and I think they did this as a way to make Jordan be a flawed character. Is that and this is something that Marie calls Jordan
a little bit of like desperation causing selfishness in a way.
Marie calls out Jordan for only so always turning into a guy when making points and then also they didn't bring this up particularly a lot of time when Jordan's fighting and Jordan turns into a guy.
Well, part of that is the powers. Jordan literally has different powers in the male form. But that is I think it's interesting that the feminine form, the power set leans more towards agility and the blasts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like towards like ironically like offense and agility. It seems like, and then in the male form becomes completely indestructible, but is not completely indestructible in the female form. And that is an interesting like I think that's a way that both are like our gender, and then the way people perceive it and the way people project it onto us, that it's like the presentation becomes gender presentation is not necessarily the same as gender, but it's connected, and because gender presentation is how you're interacting with the rest of the world. And we've seen that when we know that the rest of the world probably for one thing takes Jordan more seriously when they're presenting as a guy.
Yeah.
So they end up it's not that they think that like men make better points. It's that they're tired of not being listened to and they just want to skip the bullshit.
I think that it's I think it's interesting like actually having like Marie point that out. I don't think that Marie was doing that. Be like I hate this that you're doing this. I think Marie was more like being like, hey,
I want to ask you about
you don't want to be seen as pushing this idea that men are stronger and all that stuff. If you don't want to give in to those bigoted ideas.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that I think the fact that the power sets kind of represent differently is so interesting, because I think part of it is that Jordan feels more vulnerable and not even physically but emotionally. You know what I mean? To shift into being a woman, especially in the context that this is a trans femme character, that is scarier, because that not just because of misogyny, but because of trans misogyny, and also because of this is the shift. This is the thing that I'm told that I'm not the thing I've been told my whole life from my parents that I'm not supposed to be. That I'm supposed to say the other thing. And so that's the part of Jordan that's like the most marginalized in a way, and the most vulnerable, and the most scared of letting people in. And it kind of represents that part of you emotionally that is like you're scared to let people in intimacy wise, and so you put up walls. And it's interesting in this kind of gender conversation that the walls that Jordan puts up take the form of presenting male, of presenting masculine, both in the sense of that's when the body becomes completely indestructible, and in the sense that that's when and also that and I also noticed, you know what I mean, if you really look through it, when Jordan is presenting male, Jordan is much more emotionally closed off, and then when Jordan's presenting female is much allows themselves to be much more open and vulnerable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that it's and Marie was right to bring that up, just in a way of hey, have you thought about this? Because I think it's a thing that subconsciously builds, where even if you know that this is your defensive walls, you may not realize how obvious that defensiveness is to everybody else. Does that make sense? You might not realize
Yeah.
how obvious it is to everyone else every time
You,
your hackles raise up and
you know,
you're putting up the walls.
it's funny with Jordan. I love a lot of the characters in Gen V, and Jordan and Marie are probably like two of my favorites. They always, when they became a couple, it made so much sense. But like one of the reasons why I love them a lot is because of their defensive roles. Like they felt so like they reminded me of people I knew of, like especially Jordan as a bigender person. Like I know other people who are also bigender, like me, obviously, and there are times where Jordan's reasoning and flaws and direction genuinely felt reminiscent of real life conversations I had with some other
Especially like
non-binary people. Yeah,
a trans person
yeah,
that's coming from a bad home life, getting groomed by like the first authority figure who's nice to them
yeah,
with like what's his name, Brink.
yeah. Brink,
Like
yeah,
that storyline I remember a lot. It's sad because it makes so much sense that the first person who validates you is going to be able to really sink their claws into you, unfortunately, especially when you're young and like vulnerable. And so that storyline was interesting because it's like that's very much was like a grooming situation. Even if it's not like a sexual situation, it's like I'm grooming you to where you're gonna like very much when Brink says, now you have to protect me. It's like, okay, that was the plan all along to
It's
recruit
funny.
this person that's really powerful to be on your to be under your thumb
No, and
emotionally.
that was also another element of season one that I loved a lot. The character of Brick played by Clancy Brown, great actor.
Yeah, one of the
But
best characters, I think.
no, right. But like in season one, you know,
Just interesting.
yeah, when she explains to Maria and some other people,
Mhm.
like, was he perfect? Probably not. Did I know him fully? No.
Was he the only one who was ever fucking
Yeah,
nice to me?
yeah, I loved him because he
Yeah.
saw me as both. And he was the
Yeah.
first one to see me that way. And now he's
Hey.
fucking gone. And now then I have to deal with the fact that he's probably complicit in a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So when
So
she's a so
and
when
that he was manipulating me with
yeah, and
that.
then
You know what I mean?
yeah, and then with her romance with
That's
Marie.
that is why it's nice with Marie because Marie so clearly sees them as both all
Yeah,
the time,
yeah.
even when they're switched. Marie kind of like Marie is the person who looks past the surface level and is like,
Yeah.
I see you as you at all times, which is which is what Jordan's always wanted and why it was so easy for Brink in a sad way to manipulate Jordan in that way because you see someone who's super powerful who is so desperate for just an iota of validation and respect. And unfortunately, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And then with their relationship, Maria Jordan, I like the fact they kind of, again, similar to like a lot of couples I know in real life, partners kind of teach each other in different ways, just through natural relation conversations.
Yeah,
The
even
amount,
if you break up, you've still
yeah,
learned something.
yeah, yeah, right. And then even like the amount of times where Jordan is like, even before they're together as a couple, like back when they're kind of frenemies, right?
When
They're
they were
arguing.
like,
Yeah.
when they
So,
had crazy chemistry, but we're beefing.
yeah. The amount of times where
They're like, you're
Jordan
so
really,
hot, but I have beef.
yeah. The amount of times Jordan was like, oh, I'm actually accidentally projecting onto you because I'm assuming that you're like everyone else here in this fucking school.
Yeah.
That's
So
treating me like
when
shit, not taking me.
you're so used to being treated that way, it makes sense that you're surprised when someone's different, and it can
Yeah,
kind of lead to like you accidentally fucking up because
yeah, and
you're operating on a daily default of everyone's a piece of shit.
yeah, and then even like there's some like realistic stuff for like before Jordan is with
Average college experience.
before Jordan is with before Jordan's with Marie, Jordan's having sex with like different people, and of course sometimes as a man, as a woman, and when he's with Marie or she's with Marie, Jordan is nervous because at one point Jordan's kind of like, do you favor one way or the other? And Maria's like, I like you, and I'm bisexual. Like I'm not gonna pick one.
Whatever, like
Yeah,
both.
I mean,
I mean,
being bisexual kind of feels like the perfect match there.
yeah.
which is why
No,
a lot of bigender people like are bisexual and and feel kind of like a lot of people feel like their sexuality is connected to their gender because there's also oppositional attraction versus mirror attraction in terms in non-binary circles where like sometimes you're attracted to someone in the way that you want to you want to present as either mirroring their gender presentation
Yeah.
or opposing
Yeah,
it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that can
Nice.
that can influence attraction. Like I would say I'm in a weird way attracted to women as a women. Women as women as a woman more, and then to men as a man more. But like they're both happening at the same time, you know what I mean? But like that's just like a thing that like different people have, and other people have it
Mhm.
more like oppositional, you know what I mean? And that can also just be like preferences for like relationship roles, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Or like sexual dynamics
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So there's a way to like ask those questions without it being a big deal, but it can
Yeah.
also, but in the context of Gen B, you can tell that Jordan has only had people who like basically were like, I want you to stay one thing the whole time, and I want it to be this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is also representative of the not of Jordan's non-sexual life, where everyone's like, you need to choose, you need to be one thing. You know what I mean? So, or on the opposite of that, there's people who might just fetishize the fact that you can shift and be like, all I care about is the fact that you're like a
Yeah.
you're like a
No,
you're
no,
like
that's
a
why.
you're a changing dildo for me. And both of those two sides of that spectrum can probably be exhausting. And so having
Mhm.
Marie, who's like, I just want you to be comfortable, is a big relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what made it so sweet and so unboys-like in a way. Is that like Jordan
Eric
and
Kripke
Marie?
sat up in a cold sweat. He was like, it's too nice. It's too wholesome.
No, right, no, because that's the thing about Gen V with all the characters that like they're in the boys' universe. They're part of a dark, cynical universe where superheroes are just corporate mascots. They're just threats. Powers are threats, right? But you can see that these college students are real college students in this universe, and
Yeah.
they're young adults trying to figure themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was the best part of the show,
Yeah.
with along with the
Oh, yeah.
powers, obviously. But like the amount of times where like so many people like there's so many things to relate to, and the amount of times these characters make mistakes and make messes, you don't hate them, you don't judge them, you don't shame them. You understand why
Mhm.
they're making mistakes and why they're trying to do better. Like with the character of Kate. Kate was fucked over so much in
Mhm.
life.
Great
She,
actor, because like you can tell that girl's stressed
no, no,
all the
right,
time. I don't
no, no,
think
and
that
then
chick's ever relaxed.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a scene where she seems relaxed.
no, no,
I don't think she's
no.
ever relaxed.
And then I think one of the best parts of season two is that like Kate, to me, like she reminds me a lot of real people who are like,
Mhm.
I really made a lot of bad mistakes. I wasn't listening to the right thing. I really love you guys. I'm trying to do
And it
better by you
led to the
guys.
death of someone she loved. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
And
And
then
I think they made that work for the plot, where it's
yeah,
like where
Mhm.
you get a little bit of like the boys, but like one of the best parts of the boys is the sense of like the people like of like, oh, what are the real ramifications and
yeah,
consequences, not just of powers, but of your choices,
Mhm.
yeah.
in ways where other TV shows would gloss over it.
No,
And
yeah.
so I think that it does kind of fit the universe to have her show up and be like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone's fine, right? No, everyone's not fine.
Yeah,
What
Mhm.
did
yeah.
you think would happen?
No, no. And then what I like about it is Kate has a great kind of like redemption arc, but she also the relationships in season two and the conversations and even like the amount of times where they ask like, even like this one character Sam, he's not mentally well, and he does some bad shit at the end of season one of the show, and some stuff in the boys, and then season two he's really lost, and he's trying to apologize, and they're still kind of mad at him, and then there's that moment of genuine realization of like, oh, you didn't even mean to hurt me, you thought you were doing a nice thing because you're that
Mhm.
mentally not focused. And
Mhm.
there was like a lot of moments where like you ever have that moment where like you can have a character not forgive someone but understand them, and I
Yeah,
think
like
Yeah.
something doesn't like automatically make it okay, but it
yeah,
can give you. I think it's important to have context of like, oh, because you like it can like maybe heal some of the pain of like thinking so, like let's be real, thinking someone hurt you on purpose is in a way worse than thinking they did it in some sort of other accident. It doesn't mean that they didn't
yeah,
hurt you, but
yeah,
the
Mhm.
intent to hurt is an extra layer, and that's
Yeah.
why we literally have premeditation as a degree of murder.
yeah,
Like
Mhm.
the fact that you intended to and you thought about it, that's scarier
Yeah.
because that
it's
lends
more insulting too, I think.
more. Yeah, it's more insulting. It's scarier. It's more personal in a way.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you really wanted to hurt me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Versus, oh, you didn't want to hurt me, but you did it anyway by accident. That still sucks. I'm still maybe not okay with that. But the knowledge that it wasn't because you wanted me to be in pain, like, or that I did something like, and I think this kind of relates to how when we're kids, we think that our parents are like God, you know what I mean? They're the authority figures, you know what I mean? And so when they're upset with you, you're like, oh, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm the issue. But then when you grow up and realize, oh, they're humans, and sometimes they were just snapping at you because they were tired, you know what I mean, or like stuff like that. It doesn't make it okay to take out your frustration on a kid or whatever, but it feels good to realize that, I think, as you grow up, because it puts them off this pedestal and also takes you out of the category of always being at fault for whatever happened to you, for whatever anyone was, of always being like fundamentally flawed. Instead, it can be more of like, oh, you're like, oh, we're both humans, and you were a human trying to raise a tiny human, and you probably fucked up a few times, and that doesn't mean that I'm always the issue. I'm like, if that makes sense, like realizing that sometimes your parents were just humans, it doesn't take away everything that they might have done to you, especially if they were abusive, but it also means, but I think especially when they're abusive, that's a good moment to realize, oh, they're not right to be that way. That does like, they weren't right to do that. That was them making a bad decision, they did a bad, like, that's important, I think. You know what I mean? To realize that you are not the reason something happened. And I think that also applies when you realize someone accidentally hurt you and didn't mean to hurt you. You're like, oh, I didn't do anything to cause them to want me to hurt. They didn't want me to hurt for some specific reason. You know what I mean? And I think that could be, it doesn't make something go away, but it can take some of the weight off of us so we don't even realize it's there. Of like, oh, I thought, like, we kind of like, we don't even realize how much we burden ourselves. Like, am I the reason I got hurt because I did something that, you know what I mean? Like, we often find a way to blame ourselves, and letting go of that, I think, is important, even if you don't forgive someone. Like, and I think you also see that in like, and stuff like Avatar, like, where people like with frankly the end fight between Ozai and Aang, and the way Ozai's talking about how he just like has these ideas, he just thinks the airbenders are like weak because they're kind, and that really solidifies for Aang, you're just this fucked up. My people were not weak. It was not weak of us to show kindness. You're the one who's a piece of shit. Like that, like, you're like, and even if you managed to wipe them all out, it's not because you were somehow better. It's because you were underhanded and shady. You know what I mean? And like, that's I think an important like realization on that level. Or even like, again, Zuko realizes, oh, I didn't deserve that, what you did to me. You were wrong. Or Katara realizes, oh, you're just a pathetic guy who killed my mom. I didn't deserve it. This isn't some divine thing. You're not some powerful force of nature. You're just some piece of shit. And shit just happens. You know what I mean? Like, those moments are good realization moments. And I think that them realizing, oh, realizing someone's not in their right mind, it doesn't make everything they do, like, it doesn't take away the responsibility completely, but it contextualizes it of like, oh, this was not a malicious thing. This was not targeted in that malicious way in someone's right mind, which has different meaning to it. You know what I mean? And you would worry, and you would also worry more that if someone did it intentionally, that they're going to do it again intentionally. And you might still worry that someone who did it accidentally could hurt you again accidentally. But it feels, I would be more scared about someone planning it. Does that make sense? I'd be more scared about someone with again, the same thing. This is why the law is the way it is, because the capacity for someone to premeditate is scarier than someone in a moment of like, because that person
accident,
could plan to get away with it and keep doing it. I guess, you know what I mean. Like, that's what I would worry about.
Oh, yes, I think. So it kind of sounds as like the consensus among most fans is that NZ season Gen V season 1 is better than season 2. I actually liked season 2 a lot better. I thought I really enjoyed season 2 a lot.
I haven't properly finished it, but when I will, I'll wait.
And I think like big things for why I liked it so much is mainly because I just really liked the villain. I thought Cypher slash Godolphin as this villain was such a fun villain, and like that is something that, and it was kind of what was built rare
up.
Rare in this universe to have a fun villain.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he's fun. He has charisma, which
Yeah.
Homelander has no charisma whatsoever. But yeah,
Just
like
negative Riz.
he like I really enjoyed him. I think the two actors who played him and did such amazing jobs. I'll
Mhm.
say. Another character who I really enjoyed in season two is the dad of the character who died,
Andre's dad, yeah.
Andre's dad, and I really liked him in season two.
Yeah.
He had such a glow up from season one. He was not enjoyable to watch in season one because
Yeah,
he
it's
was being a douchebag to his kid.
because
But like in season two, he's so good, and um like so I really liked season two, and like I wish that the show was still going so I could be excited for more seasons.
Yeah.
no, I understand that. I love both seasons. Season one is a great mystery show, I think. Season two felt like a great superhero sequel show. Like I felt like it was more of an actual comic book show. Like there's some great action in season one. There's some great powers. There's some great dynamics.
It was kind of
Um,
building up to
no, no,
season
no,
two though.
no, because in
I
season
think
one, one of my favorite moments of season one, where I'm like, this is a great way to remind us what world we're in. Because basically in season one of Gen V, they're like, we gotta stop Kate from killing all these innocent people. You know, it's like the equivalent of like a college, like school shooter type thing, right? With all these different powers and stuff. And it's like, Kate, you gotta stop. We can't do this. We can't do this. Right? It's very much typical superhero stuff. And then one of the best cameos ever because it's meant to remind you what type of world this is. And unfortunately, this is the only time Marie and Homelander ever met. When Homelander comes down in and the music stops and he looks at Marie like she's the problem. And it's like, how dare you save the innocent people? We don't do that here.
yeah,
There are no real superheroes. And then he stops her. And then, of course, that's how season one ends, right? I loved it because I was like, this feels like
He
a
was just
real.
mad she had more aura. He was
No,
like,
he
"You
was
can't look
mad.
cooler than me. Stop right now."
He said how dare you go against your own people.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he don't do that all the time. He's just
Yeah.
mad she looked awesome doing it.
No, Homelander is one of the basic for Chris, and I
Mhm.
yeah.
love that. No, I love that cameo because it's
You can tell he's just threatened.
right. You can no, I like the cameo a lot because no one saw it coming, right?
Yeah.
But also another thing is it Marie in both seasons, even in her brief appearance in the boys' final season, one of the best parts is that when in like season 5, episode 7 of the boys, like the second to last episode, Starlight said, "Yeah, we're gonna pack up and go home. It's over. We're not gonna be able to defeat him." And Maria's like, "Fuck you." So she's like, "What?" It's like, "Fuck you for giving up, Starlight. How dare you? After everything you force all of us to become good guys, to become heroes. Now you want to bail when your
You
show's about
got
to
us
end."
all at the function, and you want to
Yeah, and
shut the beer tab down.
and even in the boys series finale, Annie thanks her for like thank you for telling me not to give up. Like that's the only thing Marie really
The black
contributes.
woman heroically inspires the white woman to save the
Yeah,
day.
yeah. But which is a whole other thing. God damn you, Kripke. But in both seasons of
I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's inherently the worst thing ever, but in meta context, it's like you couldn't let Marie just fucking do it herself. She
yeah,
couldn't have been like
So-
fuck you and then go off and do it because she's the only
Yeah.
one who was supposed to be able to do it.
yeah. And then it's one of those things where like again, it's just Kripke's old sensibilities as a writer
Mhm.
shining through. Like he's not
Yeah.
he's not he's not
His
breaking new
bias is
ground.
coming through.
Yeah. But with Gen
He
V,
hasn't broken new ground in 3 decades.
no, but Gen V, Marie in the pilot, even to later on, even as in her last official appearance in the boys,
Bisexual Jesus, we love you.
in whatever future appearance she does do later, Marie is like, no, the universe is bullshit. I know this. I still want to be an actual
And
real
I
hero.
will, by
Yeah.
the willpower of literally being able to rewrite life and death, change it. Like, if
Yeah,
anyone has it, she
Mhm.
has it. She has the power to
Oh, yeah.
bend reality to her will, basically, through
Yeah.
blood. And
Yeah.
it's fucking
And then-
awesome.
No, and then in season 2, one of the things I love about season 2 is that the villain Cypher, Godolkin, he's it's kind of funny. Like he's in a way because he's a real supervillain. Like he's a
If they had
classic.
let
Oh
Marie
yeah.
show up and kill
He-
Homelander, it would have been like the
You know,
season 2 finale of the Owl House.
No, right, no, but like
but
but Cypher, he keeps telling Marie, "You have the powers of a literal fucking god. I need you to stop doubting yourself. Shut the fuck up and get up." And she's just looking at him like, "What?" Because he's this is the first man telling her,
Mhm.
"Believe in yourself, Marie, and
This is
fucking
new.
do it."
Mhm.
Yeah, he's like,
The first
Oh,
cis
yeah.
man who's like,
It's-
believe.
yeah. Oh man,
it's such a great
he's
moment.
so good. He really is so good.
Excellent actor. Yeah.
So, so I think it's funny
The
to think
acting in
about.
general is the best part of Gen B in a
So-
lot of ways.
So I think it's funny to think about though.
I have to go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be
Okay,
right back.
cool.
So
Okay.
you guys
Cool.
can keep talking.
The boy. It's really annoying that they sidelined the Gen Z characters in The Boys season 5, but I actually like that Gen V season 2 does not have to be tying into The Boys. It gets to be its own thing.
Mhm. Oh no, I actually one of the best, in the boys, like at the end of season 4, they're like, "Oh, President Homelander, his campaign, whatever. He's doing all this fascism stuff, right?" In the boys' final season, Homelander is still a great threat, but in Gen V season 2, there's better world building where you see the people with powers who weren't assholes in the first season, but now since Homelander is like in charge of America, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll just harass this woman working here at college. I'll harass all of these people. I'll do all of this. That to me felt like better commentary than most other things in this universe. And it still felt organic to the first season, what the themes of the first season, right? Of like, no, we know something's bad's going to happen. There's a rising sense of people with powers wanting to oppress other people. And we see that. And because like you could watch both seasons and not feel like you miss anything.
Yeah, until I watched Gen V, I didn't know that the virus came from Gen V. Also, with that virus, something I find very interesting is I feel like Gen V made a lot more of a point to be like this is fucked up that we're up this virus, and yes, they as they go into that it being fucked up in the up in the boys, but like I feel like because of the way they feels more everything feels more organic in Gen V, anything hits harder, or when people are being like, "That's fucking genocide. We can't do that." Versus is in the boys, it's always there'll be people who go who are like, "Yeah, that's fucked up, butcher," but then they still like, "I'm gonna still go along with it for a little while." I'm like, no, that should be a full stop. I'm not supporting you if you commit genocide.
Yeah. Oh no, that's one of the things where like apparently it's a rumor Shukaru really wanted to play villain Butcher like more, and he was kind of irritated in the final season. They kept resetting him to be not a bad guy, and then back to like he was very much kind of like, just let me be a bad guy. Like this is getting fucking annoying. The back and forth.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like with the villain in season 1 of Gen V, I liked her, but she's not nearly as memorable as the villain for season 2. I think.
Yeah.
Like
No,
that's
like with it's actually kind of interesting. I think they kind of did it on purpose with with the boys. Well, remember with Genevieve is 1, you kind of have like the equivalent of evil mother figure in Marie's life, kind of in a way. Then with Gen V season 2, it's she has to deal with an evil dad like figure with Cypher. So like there are two different mentors she has to contend with. One's a woman, one's a man. The woman, the principal in the first season, she represents humans who hate people with powers, right? Which it's not going to go through. You can't like it was funny. She kind of foreshadows Butcher's fate in the ending of The Boys. It's like you're not gonna win. This universe of heroes can't this can't it can't just end abruptly. You can't just end with genocide. And then with Cypher, you have the opposite. You have the flip side, where he's like, I want people with powers to thrive, and if it means oppressing everyone else, so be it. I don't care. I've waited decades for this. So like, it's kind of interesting seeing the flip side of the motives, so to speak.
You know how in the last few episodes of Gen V, I told you, I had this theory about Cypher, or that he might not be actually totally a bad guy. And he is just trying to push Marie as hard as possible in order to try and stop off Homelander. A big part of why I felt that way is actually because of us of season one, and how they set and how it was the villain from season one who hates Homelander, that said that it said that Marie has a benefactor, or someone who has already planned that is going to take Marie. And so I assumed that meant that that Cypher was connected to her, and that they had similar motives.
Yeah. Oh no, I completely.
Do we know who the actual person was of the benefactor, or was he the benefactor, or was he actually supposed to be the person who took her, or according to the film from season one?
Basically, from what it seems like, Homelander and Marie, they're both made at the same time from the same egg, so to speak, and they're made from this college program at the Godot thing. So basically, because Homelander was such a success, she was brushed off to a side because what's his name? Darren Carl's character. He's kind of like, you showed no promise. With Homelander, his powers was visible from rejection. We didn't know. We didn't even know you were capable until after you killed your parents by accident. I wouldn't be shocked if there's another villain, especially with that Soldier Boy TV show, Bot Rising. I'm like, they're gonna reveal someone else was in the room or something.
Because if it was Cypher Godolkin, and who was the person who was supposed to get Marie, you would think that either or the villain from the first season would not what would I should try to isolate, but like the villain for the first season, if they knew that it was Cypher or such Godolkin who wanted Marie and was you'd think they'd be like, yeah, no, fuck that, my scientist, you can have her, or versus she was particularly like, she particularly said, you can't have her, which it definitely makes me think there is someone else out there who does have similar motives as her, that is that wants Marie.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of like interesting clues back and forth. It seems like, especially the way Cypher / Godolkin talks about Marie, he's very much like, no, someone was trying to keep you from me. I don't know who. Right. So like, a part of me does wonder if Brink and maybe the principal was like, because he was obviously hiding. No one knew he was alive, Godolkin. No one even knew that.
Yeah.
They just assumed Cypher was just obsessed with this random girl for no reason.
Yeah. Yes, no one knew that Godolkin was alive, but Cypher was very much within the Vought network and like on Vaught's good side. So if it were to have been him, she would not care to be like yeah, no, she's already been reserved, or if you can't have her, or she wouldn't care air because she hates fog.
Yeah, I felt like season one, especially the virus and some other stuff, that was very much like her coup. Like the principal's like like this Marie girl is special. I don't know why. I don't know who. I don't like someone wants her. Let me see if she can help me complete the virus type
Mhm.
thing, right? Then Cypher found out, and he was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
Homelander nearly killed her, but she survived. She's strong. I can use her some way somehow.
Mhm.
I if there is another villain somewhere, I'm trying to think. 'Cause it's pretty much obvious that Stormfront's going to come back in the
Yeah.
Soldier Boy TV show. She's alive somewhere. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Cypher again in the flashback helping her heal off screen, in between the events of Gen V, which they might do. Um, I don't know. I do think maybe I do kind of hope if there's anything I am gonna watch for that damn Soldier Boy show, I want to see certain conversations
Mhm.
at VOD behind the scenes because there's a lot of stuff that to this day I'm like, these characters must have known certain things. There's
Yeah.
no way in hell the secret was that closely guarded, or like even with they're like even like what's his name, John Carl's character. He knew way too
Yeah.
much. Like in the
Yeah.
boys
Stan
and
Edgar.
Jeffy, yeah, Edgar. He's still in charge of everything at the end of the day. In the at the end of the boys. So there are many times where I'm like, I wonder how much these he was keeping close to the chest. And the only thing he seemingly didn't know is he didn't know Godolkin was alive. He seemed sincere, like he didn't
Mhm.
know. He couldn't figure that out. But we'll see. I am curious to see. I'm trying to
Hello.
think.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Kira.
I'm
Are you
back.
back?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm back.
Oh.
We're back in.
Hello.
Never mind, actually. Give me a second.
Hey, what else I wanted to talk about? Are there any other things you'd like to talk about with the show?
Oh, you know, it is kind of funny how this feels kind of like a blueprint for a great R-rated X-Men show.
Mhm.
Uh, Especially like in like both seasons, and even like the
Yeah.
character of Kate. The character of Kate, every time I was watching it, I'm like, man, this is a great version of fucking Emma Frost. I
Mhm.
mean, just like
I was
You
also
know,
thinking this is giving young Emma
speaking
Frost.
of speaking of that, you told me, Brayden, and a few months ago about another X-Men R-rated parody thing, of Gen 13. From Image
the
Comics,
not,
I
yeah,
believe.
Jim
And
Lee, yeah. So sorry, Jim Lee, who's a great artist and writer. He worked on X Men, and then when he went to found Image Comics in the '90s, he took his X Men ideas and he
Mhm.
created Gen 13,
Yeah.
which were big in the '90s. They're not super popular now, and then he
Mhm.
sold them to DC because he's at DC, and Gen 13 has been part of the DC universe since like 2011. Very underrated. Nothing but X Men parodies. Sorry,
Yeah.
just wanted to explain. Go on.
I was thinking, with this show canceled and how much people loved this show, I could see in the future, or um Gen 13 getting an adaptation to try and capitalize on people liking this so much.
No, that's the thing. Gen 13, one of my okay. James Gunn, he's in charge of DC. Yeah, things might happen, change in the future because of the merger with Paramount. But when it comes to Gen 13, like I generally want an adaptation, a new version of Gen 13, especially
Mhm.
when like it is kind of insane how they were a big part of the '90s. Then they kind of came back in DC in some comic book stuff in the 2010s. People know who they are, like some of them. I remember even Megan Fox. She's part Native American, and there's a character in Gen 3 called Rainmaker, who's a Native American lesbian. And similar to Storm, she controls the weather.
Okay.
It was Jim Lee's tribute to Storm, but he's like, well, I can't. I can't just create a black woman to be a rip off Storm. Let me create a Native American lesbian version of Storm and call her Rainmaker. And there were some people who were kind of like, she's kind of a gay icon. I remember years ago, like after Transformers 1, Megan Fox, she's like, well, I'm part Native American. She kind of looks like me. I could play Rainmaker. I'm gay. I can. I'm bisexual. And then didn't happen. And of course, Megan's too old for it now. But I remember there were some people trying to do a Gen 13 something. There was an animated movie in the 90s that didn't do well because it wasn't super great, but it wasn't terrible. But with Gen 13, I was shocked to this day that the CW never asked to do an adaptation because they're teenagers first, then they become superheroes in their 20s, and then like they're very diverse. You have even the white characters in Gen 13, they kind of stand out. This one white character in Gen 13. He's a parody of Iceman and the Human Torch. His name, Bobby Burnout. Looks exactly like the Human Torch, but he's named after Bobby Drake Iceman. And he's nothing but the hot head of the group of Gen 13. I got fire powers and I'm angry. I'm like,
wasn't on CW I seem to remember wasn't like one of the like potential spin-offs of Black Lightning supposed to be one of those like a school focused thing?
That's right. It was towards the end. It was right after Naomi. And I remember David Ramsey, he talked about it. He said, I was going to run a superhero school show called Justice U, set in the Arrowverse, with cameos from everyone. And it's going to be about me, Diggle, being a principal of a superhero school, training the new generation of the Justice League with young Justice characters. This was announced in 2020. Like this, when the pandemic just started, they knew things would be hard, but they announced this, and I was like, please, for the love of God, let this happen because this is the best way to continue the Arrowverse going forward. And then after 2 to 3 years, I think Warner Bros. Was kind of trying to make an HBO Max show or something, and then eventually it just didn't happen. And I was fucking pissed because I'm like, the Arrowverse needed that. They needed a superhero school show for
it's
so many
honestly
different
very
characters.
surprising that they never did that. That literally brings together the CW's two different and main demographic markets.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like insane, and like I do think we're gonna have more superhero school shows, like Superhero Academy, superhero whatever. I remember a couple of years ago, Disney Plus, they were like, "Oh, we were considering."
Are we getting the like Witch Academy show from Marvel still?
Yes, it's probably gonna be happening, especially now with some stuff they confirmed.
It
Marvel
might be
Studios.
like a one and done though.
No. Well, it's because some stuff going on with Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange. Because if the rumor is true, the Doctor Strange 3 movie might not be happening because he might be opening to doing Strange Academy as a TV show. Because they're kind of like, he was very much like, well, if it's going to be a TV show, I have to be in all episodes.
I thought Wong was going to be the lead of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I've heard different things. I know. Okay, so this is the plans for after Avengers: Secret Wars in the MCU. The Blade movie will happen. Midnight Suns will happen. Wong or Doctor Strange is in Midnight Suns. I don't know who. Thunderbolts 2 is happening. Another Avengers movie is happening. The X-Men movie is happening. All this other stuff. They have no space for Doctor Strange 3. And if they do a witch show, I'm like, it'll probably happen then. I doubt it. In the event Doctor Strange dies in Secret Wars and they decide that Benedict should go out in a blaze of glory, I don't know if they'll do that. I can see Strange Academy under Wong being made. It'll be funny if they name it in tribute to him. I will see.
Yeah,
but,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And then I think there seems like this other rumor. There are different Avengers teams, and some of them are like trainee Avengers. And I remember for like a year and a half, the MCU. Okay, this is the problem they've been having, and we're gonna see them decide which one. Kevin Feige wants to spread the X-Men in different phases of the MCU. He wants a proper X-Men TV show set at the school. He also wants an Avengers show about training the new kids. I think Disney Plus and Marvel are going to be like, you can only do one man. So either do an X-Men show set at the school, or you do.
Which is dumb as hell. Be like a two shows that are guaranteed hits. You can only do one of these two shows and make only this amount of money.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh,
I think it'll depend on like a lot of stuff happening right now is kind of gonna depend on like how the dust settles on all of this stuff with these
yeah.
monopolies and like the lawsuits about it. Like
Mhm.
even if Disney isn't directly involved, like the landscape of everything is kind of a little bit disrupted right now. So I could see whether or not they're gonna keep making TV shows kind of be determined after streaming's like the streaming wars settle down, so they know what percentage of subscribers they maintain to watch those shows, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. We'll see. It's one of
Because
those things.
people are they might lose some or gain some amongst all this mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, and then
Mhm.
I think we're gonna get that per se because I think because My Hero Academia, both the manga and the anime, kind of had a major hold on a bunch of stuff. And when it comes to X-Men, people that the school aspect of X-Men really was invented by the movie and the 90s cartoon. That they invented that aspect and that carried over into the comics more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in DC, there was a Teen Titans,
Mhm.
but strangely enough, there's not much superhero school stuff in comic books. It's very
Mhm.
much a recent concept. The idea of like, oh, let's have a school of teenagers or trainees learning their
Well,
powers
it's
for the
I
first
think
time.
it's kind of like a reaction probably to Harry Potter a bit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Oh no, it really was. And even like Strange Academy in the comics, the Marvel comics, they were inspired by Harry Potter, which is one of the reasons why Doctor Strange took so long to happen in the MCU. Because Kevin Feige's biggest demand was do not do Harry Potter.
Mhm.
It's too
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
and we can't rip it off. And also, given what happened later on with J.K. Rowling, he kind of saw
Yeah.
the kind of good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Dodge
you
that
know,
bullet.
something that I think is funny with that. So the after the Harry Potter films became such a big success, Percy Jackson got movies because of how much people loved Harry Potter. Now, because of how much of a success as the Percy Jackson TV show is, I'm pretty sure that's a big part of why the Harry Potter TV show is happening.
And
Yeah,
also,
probably.
I
David,
just think
and
it's
also,
funny that uh, uh, one came as we resolve the other, and now the opposite is happening.
and
But the same thing.
it's also as a mix
And
of
this
Dave. Hmm? What was
go
you
on,
say,
yeah.
Kira? Oh
No,
no,
you
sorry.
first.
There was also Dave Zasloff. Smart businessman, kind of an asshole, different ways. I remember he had one of the weirdest opinions, and he brought it into fruition. Basically, when he got in charge of Warner Bros., he first bought it like back in 2022, and he was having a press conference about like stuff he wants to do. He basically said, someone asked him, "What are the things that you think Warner Bros. Is struggling with?" And he says they're not prioritizing their biggest franchises. And people were like, "Oh, you mean DC?" And he went, "That and the other shit they own." And he says, "How come there's not more Lord of the Rings movies? How come there's not more Harry Potter films? How come there's not more Matrix films? We should be on 20 of those by now." And
Mm,
that's when he pretty much like, we're making more Harry Potter. And it's like, there's more money to be here. The biggest mistake is that they stopped.
This
And it's
is
like,
how you run a company into the ground.
but he saved Warner Bros. He got rid of the debt. That's why he canceled all this shit. Like, objectively speaking, the getting a man who run a phone company, made billions of dollars, and him being like, you know why you're in so much debt, Warner Bros. You made too much shit. Just get rid of him. Tax write off. Oh, look at that. They're
and then
500.
make more. It's like get rid of all the stuff that might take any sort of risk and only make stuff that you will guarantee to make a bunch of money on, no matter what level of creativity it
Yeah, it's
has.
one of the reasons why, like, for example, he tried to get rid of the Turner Classic Movie Channel, which is kind of free, and they show a lot of movies for free. They haven't made a profit in years, and he wanted to get rid of it and cancel it. And that's what Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, and other directors like, no, we can't get rid of it. It's part of Hollywood history. And then he says, "How about you pay for it then?" I was like, "What? You pay for me to keep it?" Unless he got more money from it. He's basically like, if you want me to save Hollywood history, you better pay me to
The thing
keep
is,
it.
it doesn't cost that much to run it anyways.
No. He apparently kept saying, I look at the numbers. There are $150 million in debt, a network I own. So why should I keep it? It's like, so like that was the biggest problem. Like he's an asshole artistically, financially he was smart, which is why. But then also another problem, he's even gonna be more smart now. Because did you guys know what will happen if the merger doesn't go through with Paramount? Let's say it doesn't go through. Do you know what will actually happen?
Oh, are we done recording?
No, we're
Okay, are we
still
still recording?
yeah.
It's hard for me.
Oh,
Oh, I see. My mouse was over it. I was just wondering. The thing disappeared for me for a second.
Mhm.
Sorry.
yeah. Don't
Should
worry
we
about
wrap
that.
up
No.
soon?
Yeah, we probably should. Well, what was that last thing you want to bring up with David Zaslav?
Okay, so with the merger, so basically he turned Warner Bros. To profit. Like in like 2024, 2025, it was making profit. It was out of debt. That's why he wanted to sell it, right? And pretty much, if the merger doesn't go through, and let's say it doesn't go through, not only will Paramount have to pay back their shareholders hundreds of millions of dollars, David Zaslav and Warner Bros. Has to get paid no matter what. So some people think, and there was some leaked audio to confirm this, Zaslav doesn't want the merger to go through because he wants to make more money.
Mhm.
Like he's that much, like he's an asshole, and in so many different ways. But and it's insane how he kind of shaped Warner Bros. For better and for worse. And now we're getting more shit. But yet, seemingly, when it came to DC, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll just get that James Gunn guy. He knows what he's doing." But for everything else, I'm going to treat like a money machine. So I'm like, fuck. So like, it's still kind of weird. Like, there's a lot of like stuff happening behind the scenes with a bunch of superhero stuff, where I'm like, man, these are gonna be fucked. But
Yeah.
I think some stuff will balance out.
There's one last thing I would like to talk about with Gen V and honestly the boys universe in general, which is my other criticism of it, and that is this won't surprise Brayden because I've already told him this, but it probably surprise Kira because I usually love this and stuff, but I hate the nudity in these shows. I think it's I hate it because it's
I'm not surprised.
Because
it's not well done. It's not fun. It's not interesting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Game of Thrones. I kind of hated that shit too a lot of the time.
The reason I hate it is because it is so much of it is so much I think the vast majority of it is you're supposed to hate this. You're supposed to be grossed out. You're supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
watching
I
this.
don't like that.
And
either.
I don't. I'm like, and I hate that. I hate that because, like, sure, that is a real thing. That people do shitty things. It's real life. But if the only way you show nudity in your show is making it it be this bad thing, that gives off the vibe that you think that people all should find nudity to be shameful.
It has a degrading. It has an intentionally degrading vibe.
Yeah.
I think it feels degrading, and I don't like it intentionally. And it kind of feels like it's in the spirit of Garth Ennis, where it's like, haha, I'm making fun of the thing by doing the thing, and it's like, okay,
it's like,
but you're doing the thing.
And it's not just it's not just the nudity that I would enjoy as a straight man but also also in regards to ours to stuff that someone who is attracted to men and would like. They're also not gonna enjoy a lot of stuff. You're not gonna enjoy an exploding dick, like they had in the
that shit was
boys.
crazy.
You're not gonna.
I didn't like that.
The first episode of Gen V has a scene that could have been.
It's a little obsessed with itself.
Yeah.
The first episode of Gen V has a scene where it could have been done from an angle of, oh, this is a fun goofy thing of like that could be done with sex if you have superpowers, but instead it was about she's uncomfortable doing this, and he's forcing her to do this. So you can't enjoy her side, and you also can't enjoy his side because he's being a douche.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like so it's so I'm just like that really annoys me. Like I'm like I would love a superhero show that is filled with sex and nudity, but I want it to be
Consensual
positive.
and happy. Yeah.
It to be a happy, fun, and a positive representation of it. In that and it just pisses me off that this is probably the most this universe is probably the most explicit it will ever get, and it does it in this way of you should hate this.
Yeah, well, I mean that's one of the things. It's even
It's
been in
uncomfortable.
comics. It's been in comics too for decades. Even in
It's
Marvel
that
and
shock
DC.
value thing.
Yeah,
Well, it's
exactly.
It,
also
it comes
it's
back to the I want to shock you. I don't actually care about making a good story as long as I can shock you.
well,
Mhm.
it's also another thing. There are some writers who uh, their cynicism of different things show through. Like for example, there are some people who are like, if someone had these powers, they wouldn't be a good person. That's one thing. Which I'm like, yeah, because human nature, human beings are terrible. Okay. And then there are some people who are like, I don't like this character, so I'm going to have them act out a character with this sexual fetish or exploit someone with these powers. It's one of those things where, like, because I remember when I read Eric Cookie's pitch for The Boys, he pretty much said, we're going to go there and we're going to be disgusting because no other show is doing it. And I'm thinking to myself, but you don't watch all the TV. And also, it's going to run its course eventually, man. I don't think he realized it did. Like it wasn't as shocking yet.
Mhm.
Like past season one of The Boys, I don't think they could top it.
Mhm.
The both the gore and the risque stuff. And even when they tried to, it was just cringy.
Yeah.
It was more like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look away.
Mhm. And, I feel like Gen V had the potential to be a show where it could be a sign filled with sex and nudity, but in a positive, fun, happy way. It had the potential to be that.
Could have
And
contrasted
instead,
that.
they were like, no, we're not gonna do. Oh, we're not gonna go that opposite way. You know, there's they as you guys know, I love giant women. And there's a giant woman in this show. And she does get naked. You don't see anything though. And like
Loki, that would be too much for CGI.
I'm like I well, I don't think it's CGI actually.
It's most like
Yeah,
forced
It was a
perspective.
joke.
but
No, yeah, no.
but something like that, if they were to show like actual nudity and with something like that, actually really works well for having a positive, fun, happy nudity because the character is very proud and
Hmm.
happy when they're giant.
Hmm.
It's the like it's the exact she feel the way she feels when she's giant. It's the exact opposite of how she feels when she's tiny. So it would make sense for them to be have that visually. She's like very proud to be naked while being giant.
Kind of Giganta, like getting into a leotard coated. She's like a, but like it's a thing where like I think they were aiming for a younger audience with Gen V a little bit at the same
Yeah,
time, but then they also couldn't commit to that fully, and it does feel like it was kind of doomed by being tone trying to do a different tone underneath a franchise being run by someone who doesn't give a shit about
yeah.
like about creative like consistency when it comes at the cost of his desire to like just do what he wants to do. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
So we'll
Uh,
see how that goes in the future, I guess.
yeah.
Mm.
That's the last thing I had to say. I would say about Gen V. Is there any other any last things that you guys would like to say about this?
No, I think we should probably wrap up
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. Brady,
Um,
you got anything?
I guess final thing I want to say before we wrap things up is, uh, if you are a boys fan or were turned off by the boys and just wanted a different set of characters that are more relatable, watch Gen V season one, and I think it handles dark aspects of the boys universe in a less disruptive way,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of great stuff. This cast is really great. I think there'll be wonderful and other stuff. And until we get an awesome X-Men movie or show, this is the closest we'll get to that. So go watch it.
Definitely.
And also, you can go watch the No Super short film by Danny Mata and like All Hell No Productions on Twitter on YouTube. It's it's of like the Invincible The Boys ilk, but it's a short film that I think we might even show it. I might show it to you real quick before we get off call after we're done with recording this, because I think you'd like it, John.
Yeah, I think I might have seen it. I'm not sure.
You might have already seen it.
I love Danny Mata, so I probably have, but
Oh wow,
I know I've seen clips.
Now
of it.
We have to fight over him. Meet me in the Denny's parking lot. Only one of us can marry Danny Mata.
Oh man, we have to fight against the
rest of them.
The guy who plays Beetlejuice in the Beetlejuice musical.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you everyone for listening. If you like this game analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Gen V. So please let me know. If you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more game analysis from me coming. So keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Jerry John, signing off.
What's fun?